It's time for Twig This Week in Google. Jeff's here, Ant's here, filling in for Stacy. Mike Masnick from Techdirt. We're going to get the skinny on why he has abandoned advertising and Google Analytics. We'll also talk about disinformation and how to fight it. Apparently, Congress may not be the best way to do it. F.U. Pay Me, the glass door for influencers, and a whole lot more. It's all coming up next. A very special This Week in Google.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twig.
This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 623 for Wednesday, August 4th, 2021. The Evil Ceramicist. This Week in Google is brought to you by Cashfly. Give your users the seamless online experience they want. Power your site or app with Cashfly's CDN and be 30% faster than the competition. Learn more at twit.cashfly.com. It's time for Twig, This Week in Google, the show where we cover the latest from the Googleverse. And Jeff Jarvis is here, the Townite. Wait a minute, let me get the...
Oh, no. Here we go.
Get the... they printed a new one, fresh. The Leonard Tao Professor for Journalistic Innovation at the... Graduate School of Journalism at the City University of New York. What we will do to appease millionaires, I'll tell you on this show. Do you get more? Does a chair get more money when we sing Craig's name?
No.
Maybe less, actually.
That's exactly.
we missed you last week. It's good to have you back. Were you on? Were you out speaking or doing something?
No, I'll tell you what happened. I went down to see my father in Florida, and he got breakthrough COVID.
So he's in and you tweeted about this, so I'm not giving away secrets.
No.
He's in a nursing home.
Well, he's in the hospital now.
But he was in a nursing home where all the residents were vaccinated, but only half the staff was.
Staff, yes.
Because
he's not even a nursing home. It's an independent living, yeah.
Because it's Florida.
Exactly. So I was getting him Instacart and Amazon. He was not going out at all for anything. And they reopened the dining room. And again, 97% of the residents are vaccinated. The 3% who aren't probably don't even come down to dinner because that's probably the reason they aren't vaccinated. But half the staff is not.
And he got it. And he's in hospital, so it's serious.
He's in hospital. He has to be there for. He's leaving Friday to go to the nursing care to get his strength back. And you know when he's deaf as a doornail, cannot hear a damn thing, and he had one hearing aid and it wasn't working. So when the doctor came and said you have to leave right now, it's COVID. So I grabbed a marker and a big piece of paper and I said you have COVID, and he looked up and he said how the hell?
Yeah, poor guy.
Yeah.
It's just a perfect example of how the unvaccinated are victimizing not only themselves, but the vaccinated. I'm so sorry, but it sounds like the prognosis is good.
He's doing pretty well, it looks like. But we haven't been able to talk to him. So I send him, because he's also losing his eyesight. Of course, he's 95 years old. So I've been faxing to the nurse's station every night messages in 36 point.
That's
to tell him what's going on with him because he can't understand from them.
Yeah. Oh.
So, yeah, it appears that he's doing better, knock wood, and we'll see him.
95, wow.
Yeah.
All right, well, I understand why you weren't here, and I'm glad you went down there to take care of business.
Thank you.
Also here, Ant Pruitt from our Hands-On Photography show. Hello, Ant. How are you?
Yep.
Unbelievable as always, sir. Yourself?
I'm well. You may notice that Ant is back in his house. Because in our county, in Sonoma County, the state of California is not mandating masking, but in our county they are for indoor environments. This county is, and it varies. And so we are masking up in the studio, and we are also saying no more. You can't sit next to me.
And how long did that last? About 3 weeks?
Yeah.
We shall see.
We were so close. We were so close to normalcy, and then. But that's,
I got to tell you, it's. I think I've talked about it before. I'm sort of used to the work from home environment and mode of operation or whatever. But it was nice to see my colleagues.
I know,
fairly regularly.
I know the truth.
In the studio.
Just wanted to use the coffee machine. I understand.
Okay, you got me.
That's the real reason he likes our espresso machine. Hey,
you got me.
Stacy has the week off, but I am thrilled We've been trying to get him in for a while now. Mike Masnick of the fabulous Techdirt blog. Great to see you, Mike.
Good to be back.
One of the smartest observers of what's going on the internet. If you don't read Techdirt, do. And let me put in a plug. If you don't support Techdirt, do. If you go to the Insider Shop, you'll see ways that you can support them. And it's particularly important now because Mike has taken a very principled stand on the blog. I guess there's a little history needed here, Mike. You want to set us up with this one?
Story time.
Oh, God. Yeah, I mean,
principled, by the way, is a synonym for poverty, but keep going.
Yeah. Well, they usually come together. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we had an issue last year, and I actually, if I remember correctly, I think I was on one of your shows.
Yes.
Maybe this one.
It was this one. You talked about it. Yeah.
When what happened was we had ads on the site, and a lot of them came from Google AdSense, and we started getting very angry messages from Google complaining about various stories and threatening to kick us out of the program for really bizarre things. Like they said all of our stories about Google were dangerous and derogatory, which, I'm sure it was just some sort of automated system, but you could read that in a really, really interesting way. And so we had pulled Google ads for a while, and then
do you feel like, just to put a pin in that one, but do you feel like Google was trying to censor you, or this was some sort of automated? What was the automated thing looking for?
I think the real issue was our comments. I honestly think that, we have pretty open comments, and despite what people say, about open comments, I think our comments are generally pretty good. We do have a few trolls, but they, in some ways, tend to be productive trolls in that they inspire thoughtful responses and conversations back. And
people
I learn a lot
Techdirt
from our comments and
are
stuff.
smart. So
some of them.
No, I'm going to say it's people who are fairly well. Who understand the issues and care a lot about them, because you really are the most astute observer of what's going on out there. So I think you attract smart people. So I'm not surprised your comment sections are good. But sometimes people say bad things about Google. Or what is it they say?
No. I think sometimes people use bad words. I think honestly that's what it is. People
Google,
use
like a lot of companies that sell advertising. Advertisers don't want to be juxtaposed with bad words or things like that. So they say, well, because this has bad words on it, we're not going to put ads on that page.
Exactly. And I understand that, right? I mean, one of the things that I write about pretty frequently is the impossibility of doing content moderation at scale well. And that's, and you can see a perfectly reasonable logic for how it gets there, where, some filter, some algorithm ticks off and says there are bad words on this page. Advertisers do not want to appear next to bad words. Therefore, we will not do that. And if that was all that it was, and if they just said, we are going to remove ads from this page, we would say, fine, no problem. But where it got more and more tricky was that then they started saying, like, if you don't fix this, then we're going to shut down your entire account. But they won't even tell you what exactly it is that needs to be fixed. It's just fix this. There's something bad on the page. And, and basically I would go back and forth with people there, and we would get, maybe it's your comments, but we can't tell you. And it was just getting worse and worse. And so we finally just sort of, dumped them last year. And then we were trying to use some other ad partners, and we explored a bunch. When we first dropped the ads, we had different people reach out to us with different kinds of solutions. And what we discovered is almost all of them are really, just reselling Google ads in some way or another. And then what we had decided actually late last year was that throughout all this process, we were getting increasingly uncomfortable just with Google Analytics as well, which we had used for many years as kind of the analytics package. It's sort of the standard free analytics package that everyone uses. And so we just started exploring different, more privacy protective analytics packages. And there are a bunch out there, and there's a huge range in terms of what they offer. And so we installed a few of those basically in December of last year, and we sort of ran everything into January. And towards the end of January, we said, okay, I'm comfortable with these other packages. The two ones that we're using, by the way, I should plug because they're better, is there's one called Plausible and another called Matomo. And And so at the end of January, we actually pulled Google Analytics from Techdirt. And then, like February 1st, I open up the page and I look, and I still see it saying that it's calling Google Analytics. And I was like, how can this be? We took Google Analytics off the page, and we're trying to figure it out. We realized that because the new ad partner that we had just begun testing had Google Ads, it automatically shoves Google Analytics back into your page, even if you don't have it for your own page. It's to track the ad side of it. And so, that was a problem. We sort of tried to deal with that and figure out if there were ways around that. And eventually we just took all the ads off the page because that was basically the only way we could guarantee that was happening. And then we actually found another, I don't even remember what it was. There was another thing that we had in our site that was also injecting Google Analytics into the page. So we had to kill that. And so basically where it stands now is we don't have Google Analytics on the page, and we don't have any ads on the page.
As a result. It makes sense. Advertisers want to know how many people saw the ads, so they're going to need to do some sort of analytics, and Google Analytics is the default. We use it too, I should say. Actually, I proposed to our executive committee that we stop. I didn't hear anything from them. I might have to do that unilaterally. What's wrong with Google Analytics?
I don't think that there's anything necessarily wrong about it in general. I actually think it is a pretty good package and it is free, but there is a trade-off there. And that is that you are sharing the data of your users with Google.
Every single person who visits your site actually pings Google in effect.
Right.
With their IP address, but Google's able to stitch that together with cookies that they might see or just information about that IP
and
address.
So they're learning about it. And whatever you feel about Google, and I think of all the large internet companies, I feel like they're the least of the evil ones, but they are still a very large company and they do things that I don't always agree with and I frequently disagree with. And it just began to feel uncomfortable. And I started to say, we don't have to give in to this same thing. We don't have to give all of our visitors information over to Google. And frankly, I know like a lot of our visitors use various, blocking technologies to block the analytics and to block the ads. And we're fine with that. I know a lot of people get mad about it and say, oh, you're stealing from me. It's like, no, we always encourage people like, protect yourself. We're fine with that.
But in the long run, if you do that, you might as well not take ads, because if your entire audience blocked analytics and ads.
Yeah. And so, it got to the point where we just said, you know what, let's just see what happens. And I feel better about the site when I'm not doing that to the people who are visiting.
But how are you going to pay for your rent?
Well, that's what we're working on. so there are lots of ways that people can support us. And
I thought he was going to say, this is where you come.
Yes. For not just a few small monthly payments.
We're not quite in the same boat, but we're in a very similar boat. And I think we will be in the same boat in time. And like your audience, our audience is savvy enough to use ad blockers, to not want ads. Fortunately, because we're a podcast, no ad blocker works on the podcast. You could skip over the ads is about all you could do. And that's usually a pain. People listen to the ads. But we still have to do some sort of analytics for those ads. And, we have to measure downloads at the very least. So we're in a similar position. And I totally understand why you would do this and respect it. And I guess the message would be for people who are listening, this is going to be increasingly a conundrum for journalism and sites like yours, and I guess sites like ours, is how do we survive in a landscape where people don't want to be tracked, they don't want ads, and companies are increasingly invasive with their tracking and advertising.
Yeah.
Was this easier in the newspaper day when it come to trying to gather analytics about the subscription base?
Oh, they didn't know anything.
Tell them about the ABC.
Yeah. So the Audit Bureau of Circulation would just verify that this paper was sold. And then it gets worse, Ant, because then we had what was so-called syndicated research, more in the magazines than in newspapers, where they would say, well, how many people saw this ad? And it's pure BS.
They call it the pass-around rate.
They would do a panel. But I work at People Magazine. Supposedly, every copy of People Magazine was seen by 8 people.
Yeah, right.
Because they would count public place in the doctor's office. They'd count you looking at it in the checkout. They'd count everything they could possibly supposedly count.
We do the same thing. Just multiply our downloads by 8. Everybody will be happy. Thank you very much.
Right.
Good night, everybody.
Oh, that's a good trick.
My 3 million.
I need to use that.
A lot of podcasters do. This is another problem we have. At least you had the ABC, and the idea of the ABC or Nielsen ratings or Arbitron was that there was a standardized system everybody used. But in podcasting, there's, people make up numbers, and, you hear Joe Rogan say, I have 45 million listeners a month. And you can't, there's no way we can verify that. It's made up.
So, Ant, the other funny thing is that the Audit Bureau circulation existed. Sorry, Leo starts me going. It's old time week. I'm going to talk about the old time. It's his fault.
I knew what I was doing.
So glad to have you back.
The whole point was to verify your circulation. Did in fact you sell 600,000 copies of the Podunk Daily Disgrace, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then it comes to the internet. And I was on the committee to decide, what do we do about this internet thing? And so the presumption was that advertisers would still want to know how many people saw your site as a whole. And it took like 3 years before they realized no advertiser gave a damn about that, because all the advertiser cared about was the page upon which their ad appeared. And they said, audit that. I don't care about the rest. and the industry was just so hidebound in its own ways. And it was so much about bragging about size matters. I have more people reading than you do. That became utterly meaningless. So what I always tell the students is the myth of mass media was that all readers see all ads. So we charge all advertisers for all readers. That's why a newspaper had everything it could cram in their bridge columns. Who cares about a bridge column? Well, 5 people read the bridge column. We're going to charge every advertiser for their eyeballs.
Charge them the same amount.
That's all they look at. Right. Mm-hmm. So that's how the industry never kind of got their head around that. And we're still stuck in that. So you have advertisers in their media departments that still look at things like total size, even though it's meaningless. They could buy a bunch of small sites a hell of a lot cheaper than buying the big sites. Yet in the early days, they would sell out the Yahoo homepage because everybody wanted to be on the Yahoo homepage.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Ludicrous.
Page,
the ad industry is stupid. The media industry is stupid. And we're paying the price. No, I'm not. Mike is paying the price now.
So now there's this notion, and it started with newsletters of the sovereign writer, somebody like Casey Newton leaving a big name publication and starting his own sovereign newsletter. I guess, in a way, that's the one last hope for sites like Techdirt is, well, if we can't and don't, we choose not to deal with the devil, we'll be supported.
Yeah. And I mean, it's interesting, right? I mean, the sort of, substackification, of independent writers has been a really fascinating thing to watch over the last couple of years, certainly. And, there is this temptation to see if we follow that path. The issue I have with that approach is that most of that really does kind of rely on a paywall, right? I mean, the way you get people to subscribe is you do maybe like, one free thing a week, and then the rest is behind the paywall. And I'm uncomfortable with that. I mean, I think part of the value of what it is that we're writing is how widely it is shared and how more people
and
see
the impact you have.
Yeah.
The impact you have is important and huge. And what nobody talks about with paywalls, nobody, from the New York Times down, is the subscriber acquisition cost and the churn. It costs a lot of marketing money to earn that money. And then when people do leave, because they do, damn them, you've got to replace them and still grow. And that's a huge cost. And the the total subscriber payments in the world are not many. The Reuters Institute for the Study of Journalism at Oxford calculated for me that in the U.S., 63% of all new subscriptions go to 3 brands: New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal. Everybody else splits the other third.
Well, I mean, it is interesting, though, that with some of these independent writers, because they have so much less overhead, they're able to make it work. And I actually think that's great. And I think it's kind of a really exciting thing. It's a slightly different approach than what we would like to do. We're focused on, when people subscribe to the different things that we have, we try and give them extra features rather than locking away the content. And that's kind of our focus. But, I think it's kind of cool to see some writers who are able to actually make a living this way. And it is a different approach, and it sort of has opened up people to that kind of thinking. Like, I do want to support not these big giant brands, the New York Times, the Washington Post, or whatnot. I want to support this individual writer who I like, and I want to be able to continue writing and to also be able to eat every once in a while. So, I think there is something promising there. I just don't like the paywall aspect of it, and maybe that's just because I'm an old school internet person.
The key to what you're doing and what Leo's doing that I prefer for all of media, unless you're the New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal. If you can do it, fine, hallelujah, right? But it's not subscription, pay for access to content. It's membership, and it's being part of something and supporting that something because I like what you do, because I want to be part of a project, because I want it to be free to the world. Because I want the social status of saying, look, I'm smart enough to read Techdirt. Any of those things are the motives for people to support you.
Yeah, and there's a fundamental sort of economic thinking behind that too, which is that, people will pay for something that is a scarcity, right? Something that is widely available it's less easy to convince people to pay for it. But if you think of it not as paying for our past content, but paying for our future content is scarce because it might not exist. If we can't survive and if we can't stay around, then there is no future content. So the scarcity that you are paying for is our ability to continue to produce amazing content in the future, rather than the way I think most people who have a paywall think about it, which is that you are paying for access to this content that I already created.
I love that.
That's great.
I'm gonna make a note of that. That's a really good way to position it. We no matter what we do, we will never do a paywall because it's anti-democratic, I think, and we want the most. You too. I think the most possible people should hear what you have to say. Any senator who gets sent a link of why you're wrong, Senator, about Section 230 should be able to go to that page without facing a paywall. So, we want to keep that going, and I think that's really kind of what ad-supported media was all about, is this kind of democratic medium that anybody could listen to.
Yeah. How many people are you, Mike? I mean, if you've added up,
staff-wise,
staff and writers.
So it depends on how you count. We're 4 full-time people, and then we have the writers. There's another 4 writers as well who are part-time.
Do you have an ad sales division?
we have. You're looking at the ad sales division.
We have actually more people doing ad sales than you have in your entire company.
Yeah, we're small.
It's a big. Well, it's just because that's what you have to do.
It costs money to earn money.
Yeah.
That's subscriptions, ads, membership, any of this. It costs money to earn money.
Club Twit isn't free. We have to have a person manage it. We have to have engineering devoted to it. Our hosts have to devote time to it. It is far from free. In fact, the jury's still out whether it's a net positive, really. But it's
we're having fun with it, though.
Oh, well, that's the thing. It's fun to do. So I guess if it's just neutral, okay. But that's, it's hard. It's really hard, and it's getting harder. And I see it seems to be. I mean, this is a natural cycle for media. I don't know, but it seems to be this is what happened to blogs. Has now happened to podcasts. Is this shakeout, and then you get the acquisitions by big companies, and then there really are only 2 kinds of blogs. They're hobby blogs or blogs that are owned by big media companies. And you and I fall in this crack between the two, trying to survive.
It was the great future of media to have it truly independent media.
Yeah.
And this is what Dave Weiner
God bless him
for in starting blogs and RSS.
Yep.
And I'm just reading. This is how boring and dorky I am. There's a book called Surprise. Goodbye, Gutenberg.
Man,
well,
do you actually own every book with Gutenberg in the title?
I think I do, actually. I think I do.
Yeah.
This is written in 1980 about the changes in the newspaper business. I won't bore you with it. Fear not. You can keep watching, folks. But it's fascinating to watch that every time a technology comes in, how it causes this kind of disruption, and the big old players will try their damnedest to hold on to their position. And that's what they're doing.
Well, I think if you look at the history of radio, I understand it was something fairly similar. When radio first came about,
Absolutely.
There were lots of independent people who just, set up a way to broadcast, and it might only reach, down the street or whatever. And then all the big players came in and crowded out all of the small independent ones. So
bought them up, and it's like funeral homes.
Yeah.
Oh, don't get started on funeral homes, okay? And let me tell you about the history of funeral homes. In the early days. No, I'm teasing you. Actually, this is the problem with all of our shows, but this show particularly is we're all kind of, there must be a name for it, the ultimate dilettantes. We want to know everything about everything. Fascinated by all of it. We're nerds. Let us talk about some Google news. How about
there's Google news right on top?
How about that?
Yeah.
How about that?
Top stories.
What a thought! This week in Google. What a thought. One more story from Techdirt.
We can talk. There's lots of Techdirt.
There's some great
Techdirt
stories, but there's one that I really enjoyed from today. This was Mike's story, and I actually bookmarked one particular line in this. Yes, actually, the First Amendment does mean Twitter can kick you off its platform, Wall Street Journal. Mike responding to Columbia law professor and professional goofball Philip Hamburger, who is continually misinterpreting what would seem to be...
You're going to get Mike sued again.
I called him a goofball. Mike was very nice. He seems to be a little...
I wasn't that nice.
clueless about the subject matter he seems to be teaching. Well, you said you felt bad for students at Columbia Law School, so that might be problematic. My favorite line, though, is you're talking about this editorial he wrote in the Wall Street Journal, and basically his argument, I guess, is that the First Amendment. He tries to argue the First Amendment doesn't protect website content moderation choices. It's just a very convoluted article. But you write, if the Wall Street Journal really believes this nonsense, why won't it let me publish my op-ed in their pages about how the Wall Street Journal is the worst newspaper ever and regularly prints lies and nonsense to please its scheming owner in his hatred of the internet?
This is why we love you, Mike Masnick.
I'm being censored by Rupert Murdoch. Clearly, something must be done.
Will be pulled.
I mean, they don't let me print my articles in the Wall Street Journal.
How dare they?
That's a violation of my First Amendment rights,
right.
according to the Wall Street Journal. So, I'm just taking their argument to its logical conclusion.
It is a very complicated, convoluted argument that Hamburger makes. By the way, I love that his name is Hamburger. He's probably pronounces it Hamburger, I'm thinking. But anyway, Hamburger basically says it's violating federal laws against discrimination to block the president of the United States. It's discriminatory. Of course, he's not exactly a protected class unless... rich billionaire politicians is a protected class. Maybe it is. I don't know. It's a very interesting attempt to make sense that makes absolutely.
It's the thing too that I mean I was mocking different aspects of it, but honestly, like the article was written in such an amateurish way that. I mean, it does not read like any law professor I've ever met wrote it. It really reads like. Somebody who has just discovered the internet and is mad and has written this article without understanding any of the underlying law. It's the same kinds of arguments that, I think I said something in the article that it reads like, some random Twitter account.
Yeah. You surmise that maybe there's a co-author, a former Trump DOJ official who's now a policy analyst at a DC think tank.
Yeah, he wrote it. There were two bylines on it, and the other one is a former Trump DOJ official who's now like a policy analyst at some think tank. So my guess is that she wrote most of it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
They're both named on it. But the writing is it's not good. I mean, just from a purely like, how do you write an article standpoint, it's all over the map. It's not clear. like there's this one, all of a sudden it throws in a copyright issue in the middle where it says that like Google benefits too much from fair use and therefore it's like privileged by the government and no longer a private company.
Yeah,
I mean,
that made no sense.
If you wrote a paper
garbage.
in law school with these premises, you would be flunked.
Yes, I guess except in his class. But
well, I'll say what's very obvious at this point to me is that this nonsense is not aimed at you and me. No. It's a shame it's showing up now in the Wall Street Journal, but it's been showing up on the nation's airwaves for years, which is basically polemicized arguments that have no relationship to fact, but don't require it because the audience it's intended to don't have a ground or basis to understand it. They just want to hear stuff that confirms what they believe. And so this stuff works very well. This stuff is very effective. It's the reason you can lie through your teeth about all sorts of things that are, for the rest of us, obviously lies. But for the audience for whom it's intended, it's gospel truth. You could say the January 6th insurrection was a bunch of very peaceful people who were just touring the Congress. And you and I look at the videos and go, well, that's obviously not true. But for the audience for whom it's intended, it's gospel. And that's what this is. This is not intended for you and me, Mike. I'm sad to see that in the Wall Street Journal, but I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised, in the least, especially on that page.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the Wall Street Journal, opinion pages, have become that kind of thing, and it is more targeted also at officials in Washington, and to make this argument to make them think that there is some sort of legitimate argument here when there's clearly not.
It gives them cover. I think most of the people who read the Wall Street Journal, and most people I would hope, maybe I'm a fool. I would hope that most people in government who read this know better, and even Philip Hamburger knows better. But that's not the point of this by any means. This isn't for them. This is to give them cover, to give them points, so that Jim Jordan can go out and try to get into jail and see the insurrectionists, make sure that they're not being mistreated. Like the good patriots that they are. We live in a very different world, Yeah. And I'm glad that you have the fortitude. I'll tell you this: the fact that you have the fortitude to call out this BS when you see it gives me courage, because it's very seriously, anybody who's in my position or anybody who's a broadcaster is always fearful of saying what I just said, because there's some percentage of people who are watching who will no longer listen to the show ever again. Yeah. Because we challenge their fundamentally held beliefs. And that's risky. And if you're in mass media, you're trained. We don't have enough numbers to begin with. Don't reduce them. I gave up about that. When Trump first got elected, we tried to be fairly judicious.
You tried. I screwed it up.
About 2 or 3 years in, it was like, oh, screw it.
Yeah, you did change. You just suddenly changed. We tried not to, but at some point,
I didn't want to get political, but it gets to the point where when there's outrageous lies being told, you can't turn your back on that.
I mean, if your focus is on the truth, then you have to focus on the truth, right? And so, we criticize people across the political aisle, but when one party has completely detached itself from reality, then you have to call that out. And I criticize Democrats all the time as well, but their commitment to the truth is a little bit closer than the Republicans right now. Well, I think that's unfortunate.
Yeah, and I bend over backwards not to make it a partisan issue and just say, well, look, there's some people who are really clearly liars and thieves and grifters, and there's some people who are not, and it's not necessarily to split down party lines. Yeah. But when somebody's a lion, you got to say, hey, that's not true. And when a law professor writes in the Wall Street Journal that somehow the First Amendment doesn't protect Twitter against the government, or somehow Google is the government, you got to say something. You just can't let that sit. And you know what? Maybe you and I are paying the price for that.
Yes. Well, I'm currently being sued for defamation too. So.
Oh Lord. Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's
so
kind
sorry.
of these things happen. So it's been quite a year here at Techdirt.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Yeah. I almost. You don't. I verge on despair. So I'm swear to God, Mike. Thank you for hanging in there.
I'm doing my best.
You're keeping us in here. Now let's talk about the Pixel 6. Woohoo!
Good old hardware.
This is and there's plenty of people who prefer that we just stick to that. And I understand that. And, for a long time, we fought the good fight. But honestly, this all impacts technology. I mean, this diatribe in the Wall Street Journal is going against tech. It's really the
that's the issue.
It's the big tech attack.
Yeah.
It's the
which is. Go ahead, Mike.
I mean, if this actually did get anywhere, and if people actually believed it, and it moved into sort of courts and Congress and wherever else, it is a clear attack on the open internet and all the stuff that we were talking about before, the things that we find important about having the ability for there to be some kind of independent media that doesn't exist. If these things go into effect, if people actually believe Philip Hamburger and his argument about how the First Amendment interplays with the internet, we don't have an open internet anymore. We have a very locked down and a very proprietary kind of internet. And that's not the internet that I want. And this shouldn't be the internet that anyone, especially anyone watching this, listening to this as an open podcast would or should want.
Exactly. Yeah. And part of what they're going after is to bring liability to anyone for anything, so that the hell that Mike has gone through in a few cases becomes all of our hell. Everybody can go through this. Everybody.
I say that again and again. Section 230 means that we can have a chat room and we can have forums and we can have people on our show. If you lose Section 230, it'll just be me talking very carefully. I'll have a lawyer next to me whispering, Mr. Laporte, you shouldn't say that.
One lawyer says, get rid of Jarvis first.
Oh, you'd be the first to go, Jeff. Are you kidding?
Yeah, I'm gone.
Yeah. No,
Ant's a nice guy, but no.
I've only been in one lawsuit in my life, and I will never. And by the way, I was a plaintiff. I was suing. I will never ever voluntarily do that again. It is if anybody's ever not been through a lawsuit, and Mike, you've been through several, it is awful. It's expensive. Yep. It's boring. It's time consuming. It's frustrating. It's everything that you would hate bundled into one big hairy ball of hate. It's terrible. So you have my deepest sympathy. I'm so sorry. You have to defend yourself, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing that amazes me is that you have some law professors, not talking about Professor Hamburger here, but other law professors who I think are serious thinkers, or they appear to be serious thinkers, who keep saying that if we change Section 230, it's fine. The courts will kind of sort it out and everyone can just, argue things out in court. And it's just like, have you ever been sued? Have you ever gone through this process? It is not the kind of thing where, nobody wants to go through it. And the pressures are all to sort of cave in, and not to actually defend your rights, because the cost of actually defending your rights in money, obviously, but also just in time, concentration, stress levels, my blood pressure, is so high and so extreme that, it's really just not worth it for most people to go through that process. And, not that I'm doing it.
So the chill becomes Arctic. Nobody wants to.
That's the problem. It is a absolutely chilling effect. You just end up saying, as with any repressive regime, you wonder why people put up with repressive regimes. And keep your head down. It's the safest, easiest thing to do.
And even to be clear, because of that, it's not just the cases that go to court. I mean, without going into any other detail, I'll say that we've faced, I think it's 4 threats this year, some of which were fairly serious, that we have to take seriously, and that is time, attention, and stress. And we're willing to defend the decisions that we've made because we stand behind them. Yeah. But it's the chilling effect is really significant.
I'm really fortunate because my business partner and wife, Lisa, her attitude is, we fight everything. We don't settle. We keep going. Yeah. Even though it costs us more, almost always costs you more than to settle, because patent trolls and everybody else, they know exactly how much to ask for, and just enough so that it's cheaper to settle. But Lisa is somebody who really believes in principle. She says, nope, never going to settle.
Sets a precedence.
We're going to fight. Yeah, because I think that's the reason she doesn't want to set a precedent. Yeah,
because in the long run, that then you're just flinging open the door. Everyone says, "Oh, they'll settle, so we'll do it. We'll get our fee," and then that adds up. So and a lot of times it does make sense to fight it.
Yeah. Speaking of Section 230, Amy Klobuchar. Speaking of, Democrats get it wrong too sometimes. Yep. And I think with the best intentions, she's trying to shut down vaccine misinformation, but she's introduced a bill that would in effect carve out an exception to Section 230 to allow people to take down vaccine misinformation. Is that necessary?
So define misinformation.
Yeah. The Health Misinformation Act of 2021.
Yeah. Well, the bill actually tasks the head of Health and Human Services with defining what is misinformation. How could that possibly go wrong?
Well, if it's Hank Azar, maybe a lot of ways. Actually, you wrote a great. What did you? Your headline on this was something like,
I don't even remember.
Oh, something about murder and death. It was good. It was. I liked it.
It was good.
Let's talk. Do you want?
Let's go to our happy place.
Let's go to our happy place. We're going to talk about the Pixel 6. Let's take a little break. We'll take a little break, a little amuse-bouche, a little palate refresher to take the poor taste of Section 230 out of our mouth, and then we will talk about the Pixel 6. Our show today brought to you quite literally by our CDN, our content delivery network, CashFly. CashFly has been innovating content delivery since 1999, and I know it firsthand. We've been using them for the podcast for almost the whole time. When we first started Twit, so many people downloaded it that the website crashed. Okay, we need a better way. Let's see. Then we went to BitTorrent, and I was reduced to begging every show, please seed our show so that others can hear it. That didn't work out so well. Then Matt Levine from CashFly, one of the founders, called me and said, Leo, we can help. And man, have they helped. It's great. And it's one of those things that you probably don't notice, but whenever you're downloading one of our shows, audio or video, and it comes in lickety-split, and there's no delays, there's no pauses, you can thank CashFly. CashFly has over 50 points of presence all over the world, which means it's the fastest CDN for global throughput. You can get our content from a server that's near you. And now CashFly has introduced ultra-low latency streaming using the same network. It's not the WebRTC solution that has let us all down in the past. Stream delays on ultra-low latency streaming with CashFly, less than 1 second. 1 second latency. That almost seems impossible. It's practically infinitely scalable. They can deliver video to more than 1 million users concurrently, plus ingest thousands of synchronous streams. This is a mind-boggling technology. Their platform's designed for transmuxing thousands of streams simultaneously with live failover. RTMP-S gets ingested and turned into low latency, ultra-low latency SLDP and HLS streams simultaneously. They offer a great HTML5 player you can use with an SDK that means it can work anywhere you want your player to run websites, applications, mobile devices, whatever platform you're on. On their low latency network, global network, your video streams will stream perfectly anywhere you have viewers, no matter what continent they're on. It's really a remarkable solution. And one of the things I love about CashFly is their great support. Their engineers are there 24/7, 365 to help you with any issues, and they will design a custom solution based on your unique needs, all built on their reliable, robust global network that's so good they can offer 100% SLA. I'm not 49, 59, 10, 9, 1,000 nines, 100% SLA. 1 million concurrent streams, 5 times faster than other CDNs. They're nice people, too. They've donated now considerable amount of money through World Central Kitchen. Nice job. They pioneered the first Anycast CDN infrastructure way back in 2002. Their best hop technology does it. It automatically finds the fastest route to and from customer origin anywhere in those 50 pops. Look, just for you, right now, you can find out how much CashFly can save you. You can see what their custom solution would do for you. You may be overpaying 20% or more for your content delivery network. And if you're not using a CDN, stop the insanity. Go to twit.cashfly.com right now. Twit.cashfly.com. Say goodbye to outages at 3 a.m. That was my line. Because I don't want that 3 a.m. phone call. The podcast's down. The servers are down. Never happens with CashFly. Twit.cashfly.com. Thank you, CashFly. Now, an interesting story. We talked about this on MacBreak Weekly yesterday, actually, because Apple is famous for saying nothing. You could speculate all you want. Everybody knows there's going to be a new iPhone in September. Everybody knows that. We can guess what will be new on that. There's even leaks. But lips are sealed. And in fact, they go after people.
Oh, hell, they'll arrest people.
They'll arrest people. Yeah. They went after somebody in China who was sharing the prototypes and said, not only did their Chinese lawyers say, stop, knock it off, they said, and by the way, we want to know who gave you those so we can go after them too.
Should they not?
Should they not what?
Go after those leakers?
I think when you do it in China, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit of a threat.
Yeah.
Well,
they went after a journalist at Gawker back in the day.
Yeah.
Who just picked up a phone somebody left behind, and
they have their own police force,
private cops to go after them.
It's their right. But actually, this is the question: should they not? Because Google, in the face of kind of endless leaks about whatever Google does, has decided to do the opposite. And I think this actually might be a successful strategy. Rick Osterloh, they started with tweets, and then Rick Osterloh invited a handful of tame journalists in to look at the Pixel 6. He wouldn't let them take pictures of it, wouldn't let them video it, but look at it, and to give them a pitch, which was, if you look at what they learned, it was essentially an ad for what the Pixel 6 would be without any real details. For instance, one of the things Osterloh is all excited about is the fact that Google's going to design its own system on a chip for this. When unmentioned is, well, what exactly is, they're calling it Tensor because it will have probably elements of the TPU that Google offers right now, but that's only a part of the chip, the AI part, and it's widely speculated. They were talking about this yesterday on All About Android, that actually it's Samsung making this system on a chip. But, the Pixel 6, Pixel 6 Pro available sometime this fall. And I think this might be a good strategy. It for one thing, they showed pictures of it, so that short circuits all the little leaks and stuff, many of which are wrong. Gives you an idea. We know the phone's coming. Really, they didn't say anything we didn't already know. We've seen pictures of it, the camera bar in the back and stuff. And it really gets a lot of attention. It's a way to get good publicity.
I can't wait.
I know. You know what? It worked. I will buy it. The conclusion on MacBreak Weekly yesterday was the reason Apple doesn't do this is they're actively selling the iPhone 12 right now. They're not going to talk about the iPhone 13 at all.
Good point.
They don't want to. And Google, sure, maybe this will kill sales of the Pixel 5. I have to laugh because what?
So the three people that were going to buy the last Pixel,
what are you going to kill?
Wait.
Yeah, right? yeah. So they have nothing to lose, I guess, by this strategy. But I think there's a lot to be gained by this. I think there are a lot of people like Jeff and me who will say, "Oh, good,
schmucks.
Maybe I won't buy the Samsung." Whatever, Galaxy Fold 3, which I guess is going to be announced next week. Maybe I won't buy that. Maybe I'll wait for the Pixel 6. So there's nothing but benefit for Google.
I'm waiting for the CX9 right now, and I'm waiting for the Pixel 6, and this is killing me. Both my machines are ready to die.
What's the CX9? Is that your next?
That's the
Chromebook?
Asus. That's the Chromebook.
Yeah, that's the beautiful Chromebook we talked about.
But it's out of stock. Is that why you're waiting for it?
Yeah, like it went up. I don't mean to change the subject, but that's what I do here. It went up, and within minutes, it was. We'll notify you. I want to pre-order.
Chip shortage.
Let me pre-order.
Chip shortage. It's going to be that way for everything. Chip shortage. Even Cook and the Apple analyst call this week or last week said, we're going to be hit by chip shortages, not for the main chips, the flagship chips like the M1 and the A16. We're going to be hit with, he called them legacy nodes, the processors that every phone has, it made by little companies in China, and the accelerometers and the all these little chips, GPS chips, things like that we use that everybody else uses. We're going to be hit hard. So I'm sure this will happen with the Pixel. So
you're buying the 6. Why are you buying the 6? I'm just curious.
So I skipped the 5 because they didn't change much, right? It was the same camera system.
Right.
This, for the first time, they're changing it. There's a new camera system. They didn't give out much information about it. They showed the folks in the room pictures and videos, but they weren't allowed to share those. 3 cameras, telephoto lens with 4x optical zoom, not as big as Samsung's, but still, a reason to get it. I actually bought a Samsung S21 Ultra because there was a deal on Google Fi about a month ago, thinking, all right, you know what, this Pixel 5 has fallen apart. I'm sorry, Pixel 4 is falling apart. Although I did fix it, but I was thinking, maybe it's time to get a Samsung. And then they said, there's a delay. And so I canceled it because really I don't want that. I like Pixels.
Right.
Plus, I think
I'm not too keen
notion
on
of the
4X. The 4X zoom, I'm not too keen on that.
You'd like more. What is the Samsung S21 is like?
No. I still think with these sensors being as small as they are, it just doesn't work to have such a large zoom. You really should just zoom with your feet.
Samsung's claiming 100x zoom, and the pictures I've seen actually look pretty good.
The last one, I don't think it was the 21, but there was one Mr. Howell had, and he allowed me to play with it at the studio, and we went outside and did a little zoom testing, and quite frankly, I thought it looked terrible.
Well, compared to your fancy Canon R5, of course.
It just looks terrible. Even
look at this video. This is
a really good job.
This is from Hassan Vora, the phono guy. Look, he's going to do. He's going to 1x, 2x, 3x, 5x, 6x, 8x, 12, 20. This is on a Samsung Ultra 21S21. Yeah, you see it's soft. But you get the picture.
I don't want that picture.
Really
that's just for looking at something, but I don't want that to be printed out or shared or anything like that. That's just for me to zoom in and look at something that I can't see far off with my own eyes. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
For example, I went out just the other night to go check out the deer here in the field because I know they're always out there, and I don't have binoculars. I'd rather just pick up a camera and just zoom in and look. Even though I know the picture is going to be horrible, I'm still just looking through for my own edification, just for the view of those deer off in the distance. And I think that's what these smartphones and their zooms are all about, because from a picture standpoint, it just don't look good.
You're
Even
a
if
photographer.
You just share them to Instagram, they just don't look good.
You're a photographer.
Shrub-eating rats, those deer are.
You're a photographer. You have higher standards. I think a lot of people, especially with kids and others. For instance, I was visiting my dad on Monday, just like you, Jeff. My dad's not as old. He's 88. And show my screen. Can you, or are you stuck? There you go. There's a hawk in that tree. Good luck finding it. So I manually zoomed. This is with an iPhone. But I was able to, yes, it gets soft. But for a lot,
with your family and say, look what I found.
For a lot of us, being able to get that, I agree. If you're, look, it's no Scott Bourne bird photo, I admit.
No.
But that's not what I wanted. I just wanted some record of the fact that hawk was there.
Yeah.
So I think your standards are a little different.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah. I want to talk about the Tensor piece, because I think that, is it really, you raised the question, Leo, is it really Tensor, or are they just using the brand? How much is it AI? But the more processing occurs on your phone, it's what happened. Reading my book about the early days of newspapers, right? You had dumb terminals, and then more and more and more smart went on the terminal than you had your own computer, right? And the phone has been not dumb at all, but it's getting smarter and smarter and smarter and smarter. And the processing that can occur there for immediate action like translation, for improving photos, for privacy and not sending things up to the cloud. I think that's the frontier that Google's been talking about now for 2 or 3 IOs. Maybe, just maybe, we'll start to see actually come to fruition.
Rick Osterloh demonstrated for the attendant journalists something that you can't currently do. You know, Google has, and by the way, it works really nicely on the Pixel 4, this auto transcribe. So if there's audio on a YouTube video or whatever, it gives you the I love that feature. I think it's a great feature. Well, or you can do simultaneous translation with the Google Translate app, but you can't do both. So he demonstrated now, thanks to the Tensor chip, we can do this on phone, simultaneous transcription and translation.
Very cool.
I think that's a really good example of having more powerful AI on a phone can do. I don't know, Mike. What phone? What do you use?
This is going to be embarrassing.
Oh boy!
If you say Nokia 3310, it'll be very hip.
Very cool.
Yeah.
No, I have a OnePlus 5.
Oh, that's fine. It's a great phone.
There's nothing wrong with that.
A few years old. Yeah, but it's old. I tend to buy phones and then use them until they're on their very, very last legs, and then I get deep into what is the latest and greatest, and try and find something that would last me another few years before I have to look again. But yeah, I mean, I'm sort of always paying attention to it. But yeah, I like the OnePlus 5, and it's a great phone. That was the last good OnePlus, actually. Really?
Don't buy another OnePlus.
Why? I actually haven't been following it. So why?
So they got merged back into their Chinese parent company, Oppo.
I see.
All the reviews of the latest OnePluses are that they're not great. But I think the one I agree with you. I loved the original OnePluses, and I loved the OnePlus 5. But I think that might have been the last one that was really good. But if you like this, I think the Pixel 6 would be actually a very good next phone for you.
Is this latest phone a $1,000 phone? And are you all willing to pay for it other than Mr. LaForte?
Well, hey, I'm not Mr. Moneybags over here. What are you talking about?
Well, you've already said you're going to buy it anyway, so you're excluded from that part. You already said you're going to buy it.
They didn't announce a price. They actually had some funny verbiage. I don't know if I can find it, where they said that there's going to be two, the Pixel 6 and the 6 Pro. The 6 will be like high-end phone price, and I gotta find the pricing. The phrasing, you're gonna have to parse it. They did not give a price,
because I was thinking they were mentioning it the way Apple did their last couple of phones. They had the Pro and then they had the Pro Max. You know what I mean?
What does the Max run? You know,
$12.99.
You think Google dares go that high?
Yeah. No. Well. So that's the thing. You got to listen to what the words that they said were, if I can find them. And let's see. They'll release the prices.
Your question is, I've skipped 2 versions. I used to buy every damn phone. I'm at the 3A XL, so I skipped the 4 and I skipped the 5. So I'm going to try to convince my wife that I'm being penurious. Yes.
Okay.
Pixel 6 belongs to the upper segment and can keep with the competing products. But the Pixel 6 Pro, this is Rick Osterloh, will be expensive. It was specially designed for users who want the latest technology. That sounds to me like $899 and $1,200. No, I don't think. No, even Google knows you can't sell a $1,200 phone.
Right.
So probably $1,100 would be the highest that they'd be willing to go. It'll be around $1,000.
It strikes me as just interesting to note that like how much more expensive phones have gotten over the last few years as compared to like
that's what I'm saying.
Computers that always seem to get cheaper, but the phones get more expensive.
And they're not doing as much. I mean, granted, there is AI out there to help out with certain tasks, but for the most part, it's still a phone with very limited capabilities from a productivity standpoint.
Yeah. And I mean, it's getting to the point where the phones are as much as the computers, or even, you can get, if you can find them, Jeff, you can get good Chromebooks for a lot less.
Yeah. Is there a justification for the higher price? I mean, miniaturization has always cost more, right? It's the smaller it is, the more expensive it is. And I think that you're seeing screen technologies that are very expensive now, OLEDs with no bezels, things like that. I don't know if it's justified. That's an interesting question. Are they just...
Every time I ask that, people look at me as a cheapskate. And I'm like, no, I just think that some things just have a certain value, you know, and $1,000 for a smartphone still just doesn't quite hit it for me, considering what it's going to do and how long it's going to actually last, considering like your Pixel 4 XL is now bursting at the seams.
No, but
literally.
But thanks to the right to repair and iFixit, I was able to put a new battery in it, and it's good as new. So that's good news.
Was the battery exploding?
It wasn't. Well, it was on its way to exploding.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just putting up with it. One morning I came in and the back was kind of coming off.
It had as a goiter your phone.
And I thought, what's going on? Why is the back coming off? Or maybe the glue failed, because it wasn't an obvious bulge. But then I mentioned it on the air. I think it's because the battery's bulging. And everybody from Father Robert on down said, oh, no, don't charge that phone. It could blow up.
Exactly.
So I went to it. I was going to buy, as I said, a Samsung S21, but then I thought, you know what? $39, iFixit. They send you the tools.
Yeah.
I should demonstrate.
You fixed it. Oh,
no, I should demonstrate my my geek cred. And I did fix it. It wasn't hard. It was
and
fun.
I also want to say that I understand that security is also built into the pricing. At least it should be. Some people say if you can buy a less expensive smartphone, you're going to miss out on security updates because it's probably running an older version of the OS and so on and so forth. I get that, but still at the same time, $1,000.
Well, and they're
more.
I think the thing that confirms your argument is there are very, very good phones for $200 and $300 that are
but
don't
then you have
seem
the
to be
security
compromised.
Concerns.
No, I don't think. I mean, Motorola's G Power, which I get is what I get from my daughter whenever she breaks her phone. It's $250. It's the Motorola's giving them updates. It's a great phone. It's pretty clean. It's as clean as Motorola used to be Google.
Yeah,
right?
they used to be quite nice.
They still are. They're just very similar to the old Motorola phones that we loved when they were Google. They're still cleanly made. They don't have a lot of crapware on them.
Mm-hmm.
I think part of the answer is what I will now know as the Masnick doctrine.
All right.
When you're going to
show title.
If you don't buy a phone very often, when you buy it, you want to buy something that you don't want to buy something you feel is disposable.
Smart.
You want to buy something you're going to stick with.
That's smart.
Yeah,
right?
that makes sense.
Yeah.
I say that about other tech. I'm going to spend pretty big.
Yeah,
right
like what do
now,
you spell
so I
on
don't have to
cameras,
spend for
mister?
a while.
What do you spend on cameras? Yeah,
right. You could buy a new camera for about $4,000, $5,000, and you'll have it almost a decade.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not. I mean, but remember,
when was the last time you bought a camera, Ant?
It's been a while. Well, no. This camera we're looking at right now the camera we're looking at right now. I think I got it about 1.5 years.
Oh, but I should point out.
Oh, okay.
I should point out in your role as the house photographer here, you get all the camera reviews. So if you're reviewing the latest and greatest stuff all the time for hands-on technology, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you don't,
You're just covering
I
for
have
each
no
other,
comment,
boys.
sir. I have no comment.
as I remember, the R5, the new Canon mirrorless was a choice that you really liked, right?
Yeah, it's quite nice.
Yeah,
quite nice.
But you don't have one right now. You had to send it back.
No, I don't. I still want one, but I would have that camera for almost a decade. I know I would.
Well, remember in the old days, you'd buy a TV, and it'd last 10 years.
Yeah, I'm trying to convince my wife that ours doesn't work, and she said no, it does.
Those days don't seem to be around anymore, right? Televisions, they go 4 years now, 5 years,
and that's because what a TV used to be a durable good, like a dishwasher or a refrigerator, but now they're a technology good, and technology, even though the hardware is not going to fail, the technology moves on, and you.
Oh, hell, Leo, we're old enough. No, TVs were furniture.
They were durable goods. They were in a cabinet in the living room.
Yeah. Our stereo was a gigantic piece of furniture. Our TV was a big console piece of furniture.
Yeah.
And now it's all in your pocket.
That's true. That's true. I actually wrote an article for the American Association of Retired People magazine in which I mentioned that the resolution of Neil Armstrong walking on the moon was actually lower than the resolution of your Apple Watch.
Oh, wow.
Much lower, actually.
That's perspective.
Yeah.
Goodness.
So you're wearing on your wrist something that, is better than your Zenith TV from 1969 easily.
Mm.
Yeah. Smaller is the only problem. Got to hold it right up to your eye, and then it works. Facebook.
Yay.
What do you think I'm going to say? Anything good?
You're going to be quite objective. That's what I'll say.
Who signs your checks, Ant?
Well played, Ant. Well played.
Facebook disables accounts tied to NYU's research into political ads, saying, well, they used unauthorized means to collect data. Maybe that was what they did wrong. Maybe the NYU Ad Observatory.
Facebook users, but who were those users?
Yeah. Who were they?
Advertisers.
Oh.
So is that advertiser a user? Is it public? I think that 90% of what I see says Facebook, not good. 10% says, well, there's a few issues here. I'm curious to hear Mike on this one.
But wasn't this a plug-in that the university was using?
It was
browser.
The volunteers who put it up, but it was also going to other people's pages.
Yeah.
And
stuff the volunteers' site had Facebook had access to.
I'm on this side. I agree with the complaints. I think the complaints are right here, but there is some among the lawyer people like Daphne Keller. She's saying, there's a few issues.
All right, but let me defend
there's a few little issues.
All right, let me defend what the overarching benefit of this is. The NYU Ad Observatory
absolutely is.
And what they were the purpose of this was to kind of understand how political ads propagated, what dark money groups were spending.
Necessary research, entirely incredibly important necessary research.
Yes,
I agree.
All right,
and Facebook should just give them the data. I mean, the problem is that Facebook refuses to give them the data. The answer is Facebook give them the data and stop messing around.
Yep, exactly right. Exactly right. There, that's it.
All right, next story.
As usual, Mike does it.
Boy, that was easy.
Mike.
We like to go on for a couple
minutes.
hours, Mike. Just I don't know how long your podcast is, but the browser extension, which again was used voluntarily by volunteers on their Facebook account, copied ads that people saw on Facebook, stored that data in a public database. It did collect usernames, links to user profiles, and information about why users see a particular ad. And that information isn't publicly available. You have to have an account on Facebook, and that's why they had to give this plugin.
And you could see examples where that kind of thing could be used for nefarious purposes, and that is the 10% that Jeff was referring to. But did you see Mozilla's response to this?
Yeah, put it up on the rundown.
Yeah, go find it and pull it up.
24.
I will. I have it. Line 24. Here we are. Why Facebook's claims about the ad observer are wrong. Go ahead. Anybody can talk.
Yeah. So I mean, basically, Mozilla is saying that they checked out the code of the extension, and it is not privacy invasive. And,
interesting.
And so they're sort of reinforcing the NYU folks.
And the reason they have a dog in this hunt is because it's an extension that runs on their browser, on Firefox.
Right.
So exactly. They, as they always do before they recommend an extension, analyzed its behavior. But they did recommend it.
Right.
Yes.
And so it is sort of an odd situation, because you can see an argument where you can picture a hypothetical scenario where there would be a similar kind of extension that also had nefarious purposes, such as a Cambridge Analytica style extension that was sucking up data to then be used to manipulate you with this information. And you could see where a company like Facebook, that has been fined billions of dollars for allowing Cambridge Analytica to do what it did, might have to put in place rules that say, like, hey, we won't allow this. But, in this case, this is clearly not that kind of situation. And as I said at the beginning, and cut short this discussion, Facebook should just give them the data.
Yeah,
give
that's the
researchers the data.
It's easy to fix. Yeah. And Mozilla does say, we like to be proactive about third parties collecting data. And we made an exception in this case because it was good faith security research, And so we feel like that the benefits to society outweighed the potential risks. They also said it doesn't collect personal posts, information about your friends. It does not compile a user profile on its server. So a lot of the things that you might say, well, I don't want it to do that, it doesn't do.
Right. And what we should have is we should go even beyond this. And I've said this long since. In this case, it's for researchers to be able to look at the advertising, which is vital, but there should just be a general policy of all advertising in my mind. But let's start with political advertising, where what it's targeted to. Well, I've said this before. The problem with saying what it's targeted to is that then you can find out if that ad came on my page, you might find out something about me as a result. So there are privacy issues there, but the ads, who places the ad, and the targeting of those ads in general purposes tied to, at least to the ad, should be transparent as a matter of policy. Yeah. And it should be not just Facebook, every media company should be doing the same thing.
Forget getting NYU involved. Facebook should just publish it, right? I thought they were going to. Didn't they say
they have the? I had this discussion.
Some.
I was going to say they publish some data, but what the NYU people have said is it's not all of the data that they have, and it's not the data that is most useful for them as researchers to explore. So, sorry, Jeff, go ahead with.
No. And the other point is that we were trying to say they should also be transparent about this to the user and about the ad. And so I had this discussion at a meeting of a lot of a lot of highly critical Facebook observers. And there was a now former Facebook person there who they trusted, who just said, yeah, but the problem is that if an ad is targeted to old men with white hair, then you can I can't remember the exact, but you can then see that because the ad was targeted at me, you now know something about what Facebook says about me because of the targeting behind the scenes. And that makes that public. So there are issues of privacy around this, but they are solvable. And Mike's absolutely right. We need Facebook could end all of this by creating a policy of transparency about political advertising and making that as transparent as possible while also protecting privacy. It's possible to do it. And they're not.
And there, Mike Masnick, a masterclass in how to take a 2-line story and turn it into a half-hour discussion.
I'm learning. Yeah, I'm a student here.
This is our real skill, actually. Yeah. All right. It's behind a paywall.
And then Leo, you see, it's 45 minutes if Leo manages to piss me off. But
oh, just wait, Jeff. Just wait. I'm being nice. You were gone for a week.
Just getting started.
Yeah. I wanted to give you a little time to ease into it. Actually, I was going to read this story on the Boston Globe about this Natick couple harassed by eBay.
This is unbelievable.
But it's behind a paywall. And when I clicked close, it gave me a blank story. But then I refreshed and I was able to get it. So I don't know. Maybe they need to work on their paywall.
I read it earlier.
Yeah. So what happened to this couple? They're doing like a lot of people, selling some leftover stuff on eBay.
And then they start writing a newsletter or a blog or something saying, this things we learned about how to do it better. And they offered advice. It became their business to advise people about how to sell on eBay.
Yeah, that's
but
nice.
Occasionally, like Mike Masnick to any given technology company, they might have some criticism. Well, eBay's literally sick the dogs on them, sick their security head on them, doing all kinds of terrible things, painting graffiti onto their fence at their home,
sending pizzas to be delivered to their house.
That's the least of it. Dark vans following them all around.
You know what this reminds me of is Scientology.
Yeah.
I have a friend, for a longtime friend who was a Scientologist. She left. And the things Scientology would do to you if you left were very similar. Harassment.
Yep.
Where did eBay get the idea this was a good idea?
Well, one of the people...
Start with the leadership.
I still can't figure out what the end game here was, right? I mean, I took tremendous interest in this story as a small independent publication that often criticizes large technology companies. But like, what is the end game? What do they think is going to happen? That if they intimidate this couple over and over again, send dead pigs to their house, follow them around town in dark vans, show up in the middle of the night, graffiti their house, that's going to suddenly make them decide to walk away? I mean, because the only way...
cross between a troll and a mafia boss.
Yeah.
Similar behavior there. So I read this and I thought about like what happens if YouTube were to do this? Because if you go to YouTube and decide, okay, I want to start a YouTube channel and I want to make this thing big and great and so many views and likes and so on, you're going to look up resources to try to get all of those goals, and you'll see a gazillion different YouTube creators giving you their best tips, and sometimes critical.
The mistake these couple made is they pivoted from simple tips to talking about the company and the company and the way it was run and so forth. According to I guess they're suing, or maybe there's a criminal prosecution.
One guy is in jail. It was just sentenced for 1.5 years.
Yeah.
So prosecutors. Go ahead,
Did you
Mike.
hear his excuse though?
No.
He said it was he blamed the alcoholic culture at eBay.
Oh, that's all right then. The way it began was a little weird. They spray painted graffiti on their new fence, but instead of writing something really insulting, they spray painted the word Fido Master. And the couple said we Googled it to see if it's something kids are saying these days. What does that even mean? So maybe the guy was drunk.
It was a user. Well, I think it was a username.
Yeah, they said it was a troll on their site. And so they were sort of, I guess, trying to imply that it was the troll that people in their
it's me, Fido Master, painting my name on your fence. Prosecutors said the harassment campaign, starting with the fence spray painting incident, was directed by James Bao, B-A-U-G-H, who headed eBay's Global Security and Resiliency Unit.
Gee, wouldn't you like that guy?
When I start a Global Security and Resiliency Unit, you'll know that we're in trouble. That's a sign. That's a sign. Resiliency. Along with other participants in the scheme, Bao was charged last year with conspiracy to commit cyber stalking and conspiracy to commit witness tampering. He's awaiting trial.
So cyber stalking, wait, conspiracy to commit cyber stalking, that's a statute?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Good thing, right? And witness tampering. Gosh, this is
it's an amazing story.
But it's,
and so
I think you
Devin
could say
Winnick,
they thought it was all like kind of goofy, Roger Stone grade harassment, right? Not like life-threatening.
The van following you around.
Yeah, but not life-threatening. They called it taxidermy.
They didn't know.
An animal parts shop in Arizona, they called to ask about an order of a fetal pig. It's like it wasn't like they hit him over the head with a hammer. They delivered a sympathy wreath for one of the members of the couple. The driver said he had come from Central Square in Cambridge, was instructed to leave the $255 wreath by the back door without ringing a bell. It's harassment, but it's not. You know what I'm saying? It's
no, but for the couple, it's still terrifying, right? I mean, they said they started sleeping apart. They set up.
Don't know what's coming next.
Yeah, I mean, it was just they were constantly stressed out and terrified, and you can see why. I mean, I think it's pretty bad.
Two people from the security and resiliency team flew to Boston, rented 2 vehicles, checked into the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, initially planned to plant a tracking device in the Steiner's car, but it was locked in the garage, so they went back to the hotel.
The next day, cops.
It really is. The next day they came back. Steiner, the man was up on a ladder installing security cameras while his wife handed him tools out of a second-floor window. Suddenly, she saw a dark-colored Dodge Caravan driving up their streets. Black van, New York plates, she told David as the van drove past. We felt in danger. We felt like targets. It took another pass by the house. And then later in the day, the same van pulled out to follow him while he was in a car with his friend. It is, this is going to be a great movie because.
Well, the thing is, too, there's other stuff. I can't talk about it, but in previous regimes, eBay did other bad stuff. And so there's an interesting cultural thing here.
Yeah.
To use the highfalutin word. And then so the CEO who was CEO then, I've met a couple of times. He was number 2 executive at Reuters. This is not a technology story. This is a crappy company story.
But there seem to be a lot of them. Look at this.
Got fired.
Look at this Blizzard story, the World of Warcraft team and the harassment and the weird stuff that's going on. How do companies get this toxic culture? How does that even happen?
Power, man, power, wealth and power.
I say,
and it's not just technology. Let's be clear about that. It's lots of companies can do this crap.
Yeah. What we need is a powerful government that can crack down on kids playing games late at night. That's what we need. Tencent, under some pressure, I think, from the Chinese ruling party, has cut kids' playing time on their flagship game, Honor of Kings. If you're under the age of 18 in China, your playing time will be limited to 1 hour on regular days, 2 hours on public holidays.
Jesus, mom and dad.
Previously,
I read this and I could see my mom's just applauding this as many times as she fussed at me about playing Nintendo.
They said half an hour of television every night. That's all you're allowed. And was choice between Batman and the Man from U.N.C.L.E. And I just
3 hours of podcast, no problem.
Yeah. Well, why do you think I do such a long show now? Yeah. There was a government directive issued in late 2019, which actually was the original cutback to an hour and a half on a regular day and 3 hours on holidays. They also banned players under the age of 12 from spending money to top up in the game. That's fine. If you're between 12 and 16, you could spend up to 200 yuan a month. That's about $31 a month. No charge could be more than 50 yuan, while those between 16 and 18 years old are limited to 400 yuan a month. I think this is fine. And in fact, I think we should...
Why do you think this is fine?
Well, first of all, it's not the government doing it. It's the game company doing that. Well, I think this would be fine.
Allegedly, it's not the government doing
it. Is that really that different in this case?
No, okay, maybe. But if when I was playing Simpsons Tapped Out, if they had said you cannot buy 200 donuts, and I wouldn't have been the end of the world.
If you invested that in Amazon stock,
I know I'd be a wealthy man right now.
Yeah.
If TikTok, instead of just having some guy say, you've really been doing TikTok a long time, you should have a drink of water, simply said, enough is enough, go to bed. I don't think that would be a bad thing. It's not if the government's doing it, I understand. But if a company, even because of the, stink eye from the CCP says, yeah, maybe we should do this, I don't think that's so bad, is it?
But as Mike said, it's not the company. The company and the government are the same thing in this case.
Tencent,
the crackdown.
No, Tencent is not the Chinese government, but Tencent is one of the companies like DD, like Ant Financial, that the Chinese government is paying a lot of attention to all of a sudden.
Right.
So that they may just be sensing the change in the wind. It's very interesting. I think that there are a number of people I quoted last week, didn't I? Noah Smith of the No Opinion blog, which is the best name for a blog ever. Saying that it really is the Chinese government's focusing their resources on hard tech, not consumer tech, not things that don't actually produce something of value. And now the Foreign Affairs magazine calls it China's Sputnik moment. It's the Chinese government saying, yeah, you know what? We're going to crack down on consumer internet companies and, by the way, on for-profit online education firms. And the Foreign Affairs says, in part, to redirect the country's efforts towards other strategic technologies.
Military.
Such as computer chips. Yeah, they say it's military. But Huawei, for instance, nobody's cracking down on Huawei. Nobody's cracking down on in fact, they're putting a lot of money into internal chip design and things like that, in-country chip design. So, that makes sense. I can understand why they might want to do that.
But do they have time crystals? Sorry.
No. No, only we have time crystals.
That segue.
The greatest according to NextWeb, and I look to them for scientific information, the greatest scientific achievement of our lifetime.
I want you to explain this to me, you smart folks.
Any takers on that?
The only thing I know is that apparently it violates the laws of thermodynamics. So yeah. I'm out.
Two of them.
I have no idea.
Two of them. Not just one.
TNW says it's a big screw you to Sir Isaac Newton. It's a perpetual motion machine, but it's at the very smallest molecular level. And they use Google says they use the quantum computing labs to do it. They create the world's first time crystal inside the quantum computing.
So it changes state without using energy.
Exactly.
Right? Is that the basic thing?
So if you had, and the analogy TNW uses, if you had an ice cube that would melt and refreeze, in a cycle, but never have any energy come in or go out, that would be like a time crystal.
All right.
And that violates that violates Newton's first law of motion, and also
the law of entropy, right?
The law of the universe always moving towards entropy.
It does feel like the beginning of a very bad science fiction movie.
Well, just the name. It's the name, frankly, time crystal. If they call it oscillating fabric interventionist time capsule, we'd all go, okay, fine, whatever. I don't know.
What did the paper call it? I don't know. I didn't even look at that. I should have.
Paper? Good Lord.
There's an academic paper.
Of course there is.
Going to the source. What an idea.
Let me see. This is from Arvik's Observation of Time Crystalline Eigenstate Order on a Quantum Processor. Look at all the names. They had so many names on this article that they actually had to leave 5 of them out.
Yeah. For those of you on audio, it's a very fat paragraph.
It's
+5.
Yes. All right, Jeff, you asked for it. Did you know quantum many-body systems display rich phase structure in their low-temperature equilibrium states? However, much of nature is not in thermal equilibrium. Remarkably, it was recently predicted that out-of-equilibrium systems can exhibit novel dynamical phases that may otherwise be forbidden by equilibrium thermodynamics. A paradigmatic example being the discrete time crystal we shall call DTC. Does that help? Does that help?
I didn't know Dr. Phil was on this show.
Yeah, that's the Dr. Phil interpretation. Concretely, dynamical phases can be defined and periodically something about eigenstates.
But I got to get NextWeb really did go over the top. I kind of enjoyed it. This is the most important thing.
We don't even know what it means.
They don't know what it means, but
it's got to be the greatest scientific achievement of our lifetimes. I don't think that's actually true. I think you could point to some other pretty important achievements. It's interesting to me because it's another quantum computing step, and Google likes to announce these. By the way, they were the second team to do this. The other ones did not use a quantum computer. They did it some other way. But
it's a state of matter. That sounds like a big deal.
Yeah, the other team did it in a diamond.
What? In a diamond?
Yeah.
So is it the time diamond?
Okay.
It was a time sandwich?
Wouldn't you rather have it in a diamond than in a quantum computer? I'm still skeptical over this whole quantum computer thing. It's not, yeah. Okay. Anyway, good on you, Google. If there weren't so much government money pouring into this, I'd be a little less skeptical. I feel like it's just, well, let's build this lab. We can get some money for it. It'll be a great job. I love this New York Times article. 2 influencers who were very upset that they and some of their friends have been taken advantage of by online brands, just not paying them enough money. For
especially women
for their plugs, have created a website called FU Pay Me, and basically the FYPM.VIP. Basically, the idea is like a glass door for influencers. So you find out what other influencers are getting paid for their brand campaigns, and that gives you the power to negotiate for a better deal for yourself.
I saw this and I really enjoyed the idea of this. But the other side of me said, well, maybe you need to hire a better manager as well, because I know of a couple female influencers, such as Elise Swopes. She's doing quite well for herself, being an influencer on Instagram and Twitter and so on and so forth. And so well to where she's even gone to Belize with, the Smith family, Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith and all of them, because of her work. Yeah. So, I mean, it's she's able to negotiate these deals, but she was able to get a good management team to help her with this stuff.
I just hate the whole influencer thing. Just drives me absolutely.
And I will go ahead and say on her behalf, she hates it too.
Yeah, but she's cashing in on it.
But at the same time, she understands her value. She understands the art that she can create to help with brands and marketing and whatnot. So hey, she's a gun for hire, if you will. And she does a damn good job with it.
Yeah,
I think there's something really interesting about just the information sharing aspect of it, right?
Sure.
I mean, the issue here was that they felt like they were being taken advantage of because there's an information asymmetry that they don't know what's going on. So the information sharing part, I think, is really cool.
Yeah,
the thing
that's good.
that made me a little bit feel a little weird about this is even like the term that becomes the name of that website, kind of where that comes from and where that's been used in the past is in cases where, people have, done stuff willingly as a volunteer for free and then gotten mad afterwards over the fact that they volunteered to do stuff. And there's this sort of belief around that particular statement that nobody should ever do anything for free. And I, as someone who's now doing my entire career for free.
Congratulations. We need an FU pay me for bloggers. There you go. For tech
podcasters.
And podcasters.
Yeah.
No, it's that's a perfect phrase, information asymmetry. And there's a lot of sites like this. That's what Glassdoor is all about. Find out what others in your field are getting paid so that you can negotiate more fairly. And by the way, plenty of employers are adamant, do not share how much you make with other staff members, because they know that's just a recipe for disaster. Because if people knew, they might say, well, hey, Ant's getting $50 an hour. Why am I getting 10? And by the way, people tell me that all the time. So
the other thing here is that
and you tell them
there's different reasons.
Bless your heart. Because Ant's a lot cuter than you are.
There's different reasons to do it too. When people would scream about Huffington Post steals people, and I put my stuff up for free on Huffington Post because I got audience there.
Right.
I got value out of it. I chose.
And that's your choice. That's reasonable.
Yeah,
that's
my
your
choice.
Yeah. We had a sponsor for some time that was for graphic artists. You would put up a job that you wanted to do, and you'd ask graphic artists to provide samples kind of to bid for the job. And a lot of people said, no, don't ever do work for free. That's fine. Don't if you don't want to. Same thing with photographers. It comes up a lot with photographers. Don't do a shoot for free. But there are some people for whom that is a sensible economic choice. Nobody's forcing you to do it for free.
Yeah.
So. Don't tell you and Lisa, but I'd do this show for free.
Lisa, quick.
You'll see a lot of.
No, I'm the only one doing this show for free. Oh, me and Mike.
Yes, that's true.
Me and Mike are the only ones doing this show for free.
That's it. There's a lot of folks in the creative community, and some of them that are rated as air quotes influencers. They will tell you that there are times when you do some things for free. I know I have. There were certain opportunities presented to me in the past, and someone wanted to offer up a payment for it, and I said, no, I want to do this pro bono or what have you, because I felt like I'm going to get more out of that one gig in the long run. That's going to pay more, and that's than your what choice. It's paying right now. It was my right. So sometimes, you can choose to do some things for free. Don't expect to do everything for free.
Yeah.
But every now and then, it's okay to do some jobs.
The point is, it's your choice. But I agree with Mike. Information is key. So you need to make an informed choice. And if people are normally getting $1,000 for what you're about to do for free, that might be helpful to know that, and might change your point of view about doing it for free.
And there's also matters of equity too. There's, when I started out in the business, here goes Jarvis. My first internship.
I don't have to say anything anymore. Jeff just does it for himself.
I chill myself. At Chicago Today, the paper that I know tomorrow, I was paid $75 a week. Well, I could afford to do that.
Right.
I was still in college, and now I understand that free internships are not a good thing because of the inequity.
Yeah,
but I'm also with Mike that it's not necessarily the case that you shouldn't do stuff pro bono. You don't have to get paid for everything.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on, it obviously depends on the situation, what it is that you're getting. There are situations where doing something for free will get you a large audience, and oftentimes that trade-off is worth it. The question is, how much do you know about the trade-off, and what do other people get, but also what is the actual value that you're getting back? And the problem is when you don't have that information. So a site like this, I think, that is giving you the information in terms of what other people are getting paid and how valuable is it to do certain things. I think that's really interesting. If they find out like, oh, I did this and I didn't get as much money, but it led to all these other deals. Like, hey, that's really valuable information.
Yep.
And so I like the information aspect of it, as long as people are going into it willingly.
And I'd hate to live in a world where everybody says, "Oh, I'm not going to open the door for you, lady. You got to give me $1 first." I mean, I think there's a certain amount of stuff you just do for the karma points, and that's fine.
Yes. Well, when I wrote the book that got me on this show, what Google did was Seth Godin sat me down and said, "Listen, schmuck, write a book, but don't write the book to write the book. Write the book to get the gigs." Yeah. I wrote the book, and the rest is history. Leo stuck with me for 20
Everybody
years.
knows. So the last thing you should do is write the book to make money. That is not going to happen.
You write the book to get another book deal.
Yeah,
right?
That's right. You write the book so you can get on the BBC and be a commentator. That's why you write the book.
Oh.
Hey,
speeches.
Good news. You will be getting a check for $2.15 someday soon. This is
Mike Elgin should get at least $4.30.
Yeah. Google Plus. There was a class action lawsuit. Maybe you didn't remember this, but after Google basically shut down Google Plus in 2018, which was like a year or two later, it came out. Wall Street Journal reported, because Rupert Murdoch, that Google Plus had exposed the private data of hundreds of thousands of users for years. That Google knew about the problem, and that the company opted not to disclose the data leak because they were worried about regulatory scrutiny. Google did acknowledge the data leak. They admitted that the private data of 500,000 accounts actually wasn't private. And since nobody's using Google Plus, we're just going to shut the whole thing down. Mm-hmm. That's when the class action lawsuits started. The class action lawsuit, Matt Natick and Zach Harris versus Google, filed October 2018. The case is at Google Plus Data Litigation.com, settled in June 2020. Google agreed to pay out $7.5 million. How
much the lawyers make?
Half of that money went to legal and administrative fees. And about 1.7 million people. Now, remember, there are only 500,000 accounts compromised. But anyway, 1.7 million people filled out the forms by the October deadline. And those people, do a little math, 3.25 million divided by 1.720 million. You get $2.15. Congratulations, you're a winner.
I'll put that with my $3 AMD check that I got the other day.
I don't even cash these checks. It's too much trouble to cash them. I got a bag of pop chips in the mail for the big pop chip lawsuit some years ago. At least they sent me something I could use. It was an API thing. Developers were able to access data from Google's People API, even for profiles marked private. So if you were smart enough to be able to use the API, you could scrape Google, basically. Then there was another bug, again, with the People API that was for many more people. The case was expanded to cover those 2.5 million. That's why there were so many winners. There are so many winners today. I suppose I should give you, Jeff, a couple of stories Top German court says Facebook must inform users about deleting their posts or suspending their account, explain why, and allow them to respond. Seems fair.
On the one hand, they say, get rid of all this junk on Facebook. Get rid of it all. And now, but be nice to those people who are putting all the junk up. It's you can't win. It's Germany.
This is a Mike story.
And by the way, I can't do a German accent.
Get rid of them, but do it with a smile.
It's a Glynn story that was not written by me, but it's kind of crazy because you can understand the thinking behind it. You're saying, oh yeah, you're shutting somebody's account down. You should tell them why. But then you begin to think about most of the people whose accounts are being shut down. And do you really want to have to explain to every spammer why it is that you're shutting down their account,
right,
or every troll or every harasser? Why it is that you're shutting down their account?
They got that trick, so now we're gonna have to go trick.
Oh, that's a good point.
Exactly. So much of it is really teaching the trolls how to walk right up to the line without crossing it, because you have to explain to them each and every time. And so it's tricky, because if you're on the receiving end of that and you legitimately don't think that you deserved it, then it totally makes sense that you want that explanation and you want that clear explanation. And I've had accounts shut down for various reasons. And we're like, come on, explain it to us, right? I mean, that's what we had with Google and their AdWords stuff. But at the same time, you sort of recognize there are a lot of bad actors. And if you have to explain every little detail to the bad actors, that only helps them or their companions be really, really bad actors. And so it just becomes really, really tricky very quickly.
Well, I'll give you an example. We have a Mastodon instance that's a kind of a federated Twitter. Don't show this screen, John, because I don't want to give out any personal information. But because we were getting spammed so much, I made it necessary to apply. And every day I go in there. And there's always, in fact, there is right now, because one of the things we say is, why do you want to join this? And there's one guy says, I listen to Twit. I'm interested in Mastodon. I want to see what the community's talking about. Yeah, I'll prove that. And then the other guy says media.
Yep.
You see these, and I know on our forums.
On the Twit community.
Yeah. They say, sometimes it's very interesting. Spammers are very honest. They say, well, I would like to share news about my litigation practice with everybody in your. I mean, it's interesting to see the variety. And then half of them say, I love Twitter. And those people absolutely rejected. Absolutely rejected. So let me just approve you, Greg.
All of the cases, I mean, I shouldn't say this out loud. My DMs are open, and generally that's fine. I get to people talk to me I wouldn't otherwise talk to. But then there's always those accounts that say, hi from Gina 647317776, right? Is Twitter really going to go to the effort to kill? Oh, well, you're killed because you're Gina 164.
Well,
no,
they could do that, right? I mean, how hard is that for them to do that?
There's nobody to contact. It's BS. It's Germany.
Let's
find another way to make life difficult.
When we ban people or when we don't approve people on the Twit forums, there is a field that says why. But it's very generic, like you're spammer. Or
you're a schmuck.
Yeah, right. Your schmuck is a good one. I have to add that to the field. You don't have to give them, in other words, too much information about what.
And then meanwhile, Google is suing the German government.
Yeah, I don't understand this. You're going to have to explain this. I don't understand.
The NetzDG hate speech law, which requires Google to dime users to the government.
Oh,
yeah. The problem with all this is that bad speech would hit a couple tests on the platforms, and the first test is community standards. The next test is legal. So if something just didn't pass community standards, you're gone, boom, done. The government's complaining, whoa, that person did something illegal. We want to put them in jail. You must tell us, even though you're not a lawyer, you're not a court, you're not an agent of the police. Nonetheless, you will do it. You think Germany, of all people, would get this idea? Other people doing police work for them is not a good idea. You must do our police work for us and report those people to us. Stasi, but that's what they want. And so Google is now, bless their heart, suing the German government, saying, nah, we don't want to do that. We don't want to be your police force.
And yet I can see why it might be easy. It's bad PR for Google to say no, because all the German government is asking for is, look, somebody posted hate speech. We want to know who that person is.
But then we turn around, and then there's going to be a furor about tech. So let's say it's not Germany. Let's say it's China.
Right.
When Yahoo did that in China, and a man went to jail,
that's a big
everybody had
difference,
a proper and good fit about Yahoo doing that.
Very good point.
It's let the government do it. They can put a subpoena in. They can do lots of things.
Yeah.
But this is not the role of a private company to play police. But that's what they're expecting them to do.
Yeah, I mean, if the government spots something that they think violated the law, let them go through the proper legal process, get a subpoena, get and be able to go to the company, present the evidence, let the company look it over and decide whether or not they think it's a lawful subpoena, and pass on the information in that way. Not this sudden just you have to hand it over kind of thing.
If you've been worried with Larry and Sergey out of work, you're wondering how they're doing.
Are they okay?
How are they okay? Are they keeping and making ends meet? You might be glad to know they've sold more than $1 billion worth of stock since May. Sergey sold $610 million. Larry Page, $462 million. This is under a pre-filed trading plan. You have to tell people, the SEC when you're going to sell these shares. And they actually hadn't sold shares for 4 years, so now they'll be able to have dinner and maybe go see.
Well, I was going to say, are they interested in supporting an independent tech blog and a fun weekly podcast?
Wouldn't cost much, right? You actually have it on your site. I think you are for sale.
$1 million.
$100 million and one.
And one, don't forget the one.
What's the one all about there?
Oh, because it was $100 million at first, and then we wanted to know that the prices will go up. I mean, if you don't buy now,
don't delay. Buy today. It's going to cost you more tomorrow.
Inflation is pretty crazy these days.
Actually, the way you put it is great. So you can buy, be a friend of Techdirt, $1 or $15 or $5. There's lots of. You can buy lunch with Mike, which people have done for $500 if you're in the Bay Area. Come over, have lunch, or even spend the whole day with Techdirt. That's the fun stuff. Then there's an anti-Techdirt section. For $1 million, you can have a day without Techdirt. Techdirt goes down for a day. For $100 million and $1, you can just that's it. We'll just shut up and go away.
For 1 year. It's 1 year.
Only 1 year?
Yes.
Oh. There is a multi-year discount, right?
Yes, it's negotiable. We'll talk about it.
I will be happy to shut up for, I don't know, $10 million. I'll shut up. I'm cheap.
Wait, are you competing with me?
Well, I think there are more people that want you to shut up than want me to.
Podcast land.
Oh yeah, I'm coming. We're going to undercut you. Absolutely. Why shut up Mike Masnick when you can shut me for 1/100th of the cost?
There we go.
I don't think we have to worry, either one of us.
No.
You remember this story in the British broadcasting about Amazon destroying unsold stock at one of its UK warehouses, including smart TVs, laptops, drones, and hair dryers? Well, that story had a good effect. Amazon has announced that following the backlash over those products being destroyed, and they actually understand why, as a business, Amazon wanted to destroy them. These are products stocked by Amazon for third parties that never sold. Third parties just, bailed.
Didn't want them back.
Didn't want them. What's Amazon supposed to do? But now they have created a couple of programs to do something with those instead of just destroy them. Program 1, FBA Grade and Resell, will allow third-party businesses on Amazon to resell returned items as used. That's one thing that will help. And then there's going to be an FBA, which is Fulfillment by Amazon, by the way. I should explain that. Fulfillment by Amazon liquidations program, where you can get, somehow get money out of these.
Bargains.
Yeah, bargains. Bargains.
Yeah, cheap deals.
The other thing Amazon did, I was interested this week finally, because I get a fair number of books from Amazon, and they shipped the first book in a fully paper, thus recyclable.
Nice.
Envelope.
I've been getting those too. In fact, a lot of my Amazon stuff's been coming in those recyclable pouches. I like that.
About it last. Yes.
Yeah, that's good. YouTube has banned Sky News for a week.
Australia.
Sky News Australia for a week over COVID misinformation. Wow.
Which is owned by Murdoch. Sky News UK is not anymore, but Sky News Australia is fully owned by Murdoch, and it's like Fox News on steroids.
Yeah, they actually deny that COVID exists, which will come as a surprise to the 4.5 million people worldwide who have died from this non-existent disease. Maybe they just were old and died anyway. That's probably what it is. Sure.
Well, I wonder why did Rupert get a shot then? Why should he have bothered? Why does Tucker bother?
Yeah.
They also deleted a bunch of the videos. I mean, they suspended the account for a week, but they permanently deleted. They wouldn't say exactly how many. I think The Guardian tracked down at least 6 videos that had been deleted.
And that has always been Google's policy to do that.
Yeah.
They should. That's fair, whether they're a big boy or not. YouTube is also creating a $100 million shorts fund for people who were wearing shorts. No, for to challenge
short
videos,
TikTok stock.
No, to people who are smaller than 5 foot tall. No, this is for shorts. YouTube shorts are those 30. I think they're 30 seconds. Actually, now that TikTok is now 3 minutes.
Are they previously known as fleets?
Fleets? No, that's Twitter.
No, that was Twitter.
The fund will reward creators for their most engaging and most viewed short form videos between 2021 and 2022. Obviously, trying to drive traffic to their shorts platform. Payouts may range from $100 to $10,000 based on viewership and engagement. TikTok's done the same thing. This is what
matters not if all of the influencers are in on this stuff. Their engagement's going to be through the roof.
Yeah,
YouTube influencers.
Absolutely. I almost think these companies really don't need to pay people. The reason YouTube is because the Shorts thing is a new program. So they're in fact, I remember Renee Ritchie saying, "Yeah, I'm trying some shorts so that I can get in this Shorts thing." Get it in the shorts from YouTube. That's the story right there. Actually, getting back to Amazon, they've got a little conundrum. While companies like Google and Apple are saying you've got to have, first of all, we're not going to reopen right away now, thanks to Delta and these hotspots. We're going to slow down the reopening, and when you come into the office, you'll have to be vaccinated. Facebook's not doing that. They're saying you have to wear a mask. Amazon says we can't because there are so many vaccine deniers in our warehouse. So many COVID skeptics. They're afraid if they require employees to get vaccines or even to mask, it wouldn't go over well.
Pay them $16 an hour instead of $15.
They'd lose a lot of employees if they do that.
So I heard this same rationale from the old folks' home where my father lives. Well, why don't you require? Well, we'd be short-staffed.
Yeah.
What that means is that it has to be leadership from on high. It has to be governors and presidents, but it also should be a company like Amazon that says, we'll pay what it needs to get the staff. We're going to have a safe workplace.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, if the workers die, they're going to have a shortage anyways.
And worse to kill
they're also
their
insurance is going to go up for people who are sick. What I don't understand in all of this is why I have not seen commercials from insurance companies saying, would you obviously word of the day is schmuck. Would you schmucks get vaccinated?
Would you schmucks give Amazon your palm print?
Sure.
Would you do it for $10?
I'd do it for free. I'm a schmuck.
Don't. Okay. I think it's widely agreed by security experts that your fingerprint, your palm print, any biometrics are problematic because you can't easily change them. I guess you could burn your hands with acid, but this is, unlike giving out any other identification, this is hard to change. And
I gave my eyeball to whatchamacallit to get on airplanes.
Clear, yeah. So Amazon uses these scanners for something they call Amazon One. It's in their Go stores. You could pay for goods by waving your hand over a scanner. Amazon Grocery, Amazon Book, and 4-star stores all over Seattle have them. They're going to New York, New Jersey, Maryland, Texas. Could
there have been another way for them to do this for those Amazon One stores? And
so Apple does this with the fingerprint. You could, instead of storing the palm print, you could store a hash or some one-way data trip that you could then match up with a palm print without actually storing it in the cloud. I don't know if Amazon's doing that, though.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are ways to preserve privacy and still collect this data.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm with Mr. Jarvis on this. People that fly with Clear, you definitely walk up to that retinal scan.
Yeah, they got mine.
They got mine. And this is the first time I flew in a year and a half. And by the way, I don't want to fly again.
It's not fun, is it?
Going to Florida. And
I'm never going to Florida again. I'm staying out of Florida completely. What? You're not anymore?
I had that same thing happen.
What?
I didn't renew my Clear because I wasn't flying.
Yeah, somewhere in the middle of the pandemic, apparently my TSA pre-status expired, and I discovered that last month when I went to the airport for the first time.
Is it supposed to expire and you renew it?
I guess.
I thought
apparently
mine is part of global entry. So I spent 45 minutes on hold to get to TSA to say, oh, no, that's not a TSA number. That's a global entry number, schmuck. So now I've got to, spend 5 years on the phone, and I go to global entry. I said, okay, well, I'll just do this online. No, we don't know you exist.
Nope.
5 years ago, when I had to renew, I got a notice. This time I got no notice, and I'm sure I'm going to have to apply again. And they're going to tell me, oh, no, that's going to take 2 years to apply. Fine. I went to New York a few weeks ago for the first full day. I don't miss it. I don't miss the commute. I don't miss the city. I flew for the first time. The year before, I flew 300,000 miles. I don't miss it at all. I want to stay right here in this room. I don't want to go anywhere.
So apparently your TSA pre does expire, thanks to our chat room, this page at tsa.gov.
Yeah, I thought it was annual, right?
Is it time to renew your TSA pre membership? Now, I understand you're global entry, so this really wasn't.
Yes, I'm better than that. I'm bigger than
that. So you can check in and see if it's time. I've applied for global entry, but in order to, the final interview has to be conducted as you fly back into the country.
No, you can go.
I know I can go.
There's a bunch of places.
I know, but there's nowhere near us. I'd have to go to Sacramento. But so I'm flying in.
I know. I just whined for a whole show, and you have one little whine.
I'm flying internationally. Maybe we're going to Mexico in October, and I'm hoping that tentative approval will last through then, and Lisa and I will try to get our global entry. Then that is a nice. It's absolutely great. Yeah, if you travel internationally, it's great.
Oh,
yeah. Pre's great. You don't have to take off your shoes, right? And you don't have to take your laptop out?
I didn't take my shoes off on my last flight.
On Clear?
No, my Clear has expired. I didn't know when I was flying again. But this last trip out to visit my mother, I didn't have to take my shoes off.
I definitely did. Last month, because I had the same thing. It was global entry also that had expired. I guess either I missed the notification or they didn't send out the notification. I went searching.
I didn't get a notification.
Huh. And
last time, but not this time.
Yeah. I had to take off my shoes and go through all of that.
Like a savage.
Oh, yes.
So it must depend on the airport.
Yeah, it's definitely different in different airports because flying back was a very different experience than flying.
By the way, I apologize for saying like a savage. I've been informed that disparages savages, and I will not say that anymore. I will say like an animal. Is that okay? Apparently,
it disparages animals.
Like in the UK, there's a new law coming out. Seriously, that treats animals as sentient beings.
Oh.
So, no.
So I can't even say
like
that
a rock.
anymore.
Like a rock.
A rock.
There you go.
I think you can't insult a rock.
Do you need Amazon Echo in your smart soap dispenser? Amazon thinks so. Here's a $55 soap dispenser that needs Wi-Fi connection so that you can talk to it. According to Amazon, the reason they put a speaker in there is so that you can automatically play songs, jokes, and more while you wash. Actually,
that's one of the dumbest ideas I've heard.
You can, and it's really dopey, but you can ask your Echo to play the song while you wash your hands, so you wash your hands for 20 seconds. Remember, in the old days during COVID, we had to wash our hands. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. It's coming back, baby. It is a variable rate dispenser that pumps out more soap the farther away from the nozzle you hold your hand. That's pretty good. It is a little pricey compared to other soap dispensers, but I did actually turn our entire house into an airport washroom by putting automatic soap dispensers everywhere. And by the way, just like the airport, they stop working after a while. I bought them everywhere. I bought them from here because I don't want to have to go on something that's got COVID on it. I just want to go put my hand under it and then wash my hands. But they're not very reliable. I've had them all die on me over time. So I'm not going to buy one with an Amazon Echo in it. That's for sure. Seth Rogen is alive and well. You'll be glad to know.
Okay.
This is funny.
Was he laughing?
I know. Apparently, there was a TikTok that questioned his well-being since most of his posts these days are about pottery.
The TikTok is in their story.
Is it? I'm trying to find it.
Oh, yeah. It's worth watching.
Oh,
it still has POT.
Yeah. Let's see.
I didn't think of that.
Missing.
Has anybody seen Seth Rogen lately?
Wow.
Seen a lot of photos of his faces. Haven't seen a recent photo of his face yet. I have a pretty crazy hypothesis. Seth was kidnapped by a shady ceramicist who has him tied up and completely incapacitated. Posting pics on Seth's Twitter, so we think he's not dead. And I'm not saying it's impossible that in addition to comedy, Seth can make pottery. I'm just saying, can we check on Seth? Can we check on
TikTok?
This is why I love TikTok.
This is the greatest.
This is why I love TikTok. Of course, this viral from Chris Can Be Funny.
Reenact his favorite lines from Pineapple Express, which in my opinion is the best of his talents. He should make him do stand-up or sleight of hand magic. But if you're listening, Ceramicist, know that last part. Please release our dear Seth so we can keep making art. I promise that he won't press charges. Actually, he'll probably press charges. Anybody seen Seth Rogen?
Oh my gosh.
Chris Can Be Funny. Give him some credit on TikTok.
Yeah, this is good.
So this must have gone viral. So
verse sounded eerily specific, and you think I must be planning something equally malicious, but that is all because I'm not that kind of Rogan super fan.
Your dog's looking away.
Just for your future man, but not because I didn't want to. I just haven't made the time, and I don't have Prime, and I'm watching way too much true crime. Anyway, why am I the one on trial? Somewhere out there, a ceramicist is feeding Seth the crocodile. Seth Rogen lately.
This took time and effort.
He doesn't have.
Can't convince a friend to be the ceramicist.
is this the best medium, the best place you could do this? I think so. You wouldn't do this on YouTube, right?
Right now, yeah.
No.
Right now.
This is the place this should exist. Twitter, no, although he did tweet it. But actually, it was Seth Rogen that tweeted it. This video is very funny and not at all true. I have not been kidnapped. This is not a kidnapper writing this from Seth's account, I promise. Thereby starting the whole cycle over again. We need a picture of you, Seth, with a recent newspaper.
Or a recent vase.
Yes.
Yeah, apparently he is actually a potter. And you know what? They're pretty good looking, those.
I wouldn't have figured you as a vase guy, Mike Masnick, because I'm a vase guy. I would have thought you'd be a vase guy, but you're a vase guy. It surprises me. Are you an aunt guy or an ant guy?
It's ant, but vase has been sort of beaten into me at some point. I think I was probably original a vase guy, and then it changed over time.
By whom? Who would beat you into being a vase guy?
They're not
Like,
in
who
that
would
same
do
room
that?
with you right now, are
That's
they?
an evil ceramicist, if you ask
ceramicist,
me.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I may know one or two ceramicists. So.
You got a potter in your life.
So there's a little late breaking media news here that Axios has.
Uh-oh.
Puck,
Oh boy.
which is a new brand,
Puck?
has announced some of their talent, including Dylan Byers, who's senior media correspondent for NBC News. They hired him on. Baratunde.
Oh, you know, I
Julia
saw
Ioffe.
Baratunde sent me
That
a
dude.
text saying some big announcement is coming.
Yeah, so I just
This
put it up
might
at the
be it.
bottom of the other. Puck has raised
That dude's
$7
been
million
busy.
from 40 North Media. We don't know much about it. but they're getting some real.
But the name Puck implies it's humor, and hiring Baratunde might also indicate that. Interesting. It's puck.news. It launched today and will officially launch the website in September. Dylan Byers.
$100 a year, exclusive interviews, podcast, etc. A $75
Tina
discount.
Wen from Politico is Washington correspondent. So this is some heavy-duty news, people.
It is. It is. Well, you'd be curious
Benjamin
about that.
Landy, former executive editor of Fast Company Digital, will be executive editor.
I think Julia Ioffe is just great.
Oh, I'm glad they hired her.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
Oh, that's
Peter
good.
Hamby from Snapchat.
Company maybe was founded by Joe Perzicki, who founded Luminary, which is a podcast company. Didn't they sell to Amazon? He probably has a ton of money. John Kelly, New York Times editor and founder of The Hive on Vanity Fair, and early Athletic employee Max Chayan, longtime digital media executive. The company brought on Condé Nast Liz-Goff as co-founder and COO. Wow. Oh,
so Mike,
wait a minute. Hold on.
What?
They're going to paid memberships. Get ready.
Yes.
2 tiers for paid memberships.
You're not charging enough, man. You're not charging enough by a long
Regular membership, access to all of the articles, emails, archives, exclusive interviews, podcast, $100 a year.
Discount right now, $75 if you come on early.
Oh, well, that's less than Club Twit. We're $7 a month. So that's what, $84. An Inner Circle membership will give hyperfans premium access benefits like exclusive calls with writers and Zoom Q&A sessions, $250 annually. You know, actually, that's not that much. I pay $400 for the information, but out of the gate, without sight unseen, it's a lot. Amazon Studios, they will have sponsors, A&E Network, S3 Partners, and Warner Media, a lot of big media advertisers.
Focused on the inside story of the nexus of Hollywood, Wall Street, Washington, and Silicon Valley.
Well,
Sounds very Gawker-ish.
that's a pretty big nexus.
Yeah,
I
think it leaves out commercial real estate. I think is all.
Yeah, power, money, and ego. So it's going to have an attitude. It's a lot of money though. $10 a month.
Gawker. Wasn't they coming back to life as well?
Gawker has been relaunched as well. Yeah. I do like Julia Ioffe. I would get it for her and Baratunde. I'm thrilled to hear Baratunde's working.
And Dylan Byers is very good too.
Is he?
Yeah. Covers media.
He does media. So I guess I'm going to have to do
Maybe
this.
I can replace him now.
Because I kind of sort of, am I a media guy? I think I am. So
you are.
I kind of have to do this. All right.
You're the tech guy.
Puck.news.
So sorry for that late breaking news, but I thought you'd find that interesting.
Fascinating.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Happy for Baratunde. He's such a good cat.
Yeah.
Love bust his butt. Man, he's always busy.
I love him. It's good to see him gainfully employed. Axios says there should be a push for the PBS of the internet. Jeff Jarvis says, what? What do they even mean, PBS of the internet? What do they even mean?
It's kind of a Newton-Minnow reflex from the 60s of we should have the internet is kind of a messy place like TV is a great wasteland. So let's create a channel. In a world of scarce media, that made sense.
Right.
Right. It just didn't exist. And there was no Big Bird. We want to place a home for Big Bird. In a world of
do
abundant
anything you
media,
want on the internet.
Exactly. It doesn't make a lot of
If you want a PBS on the internet, just go do it.
And imagine government involvement in
No.
No.
No, there's plenty. We don't need government funding.
It's goody two-shoes thinking, and I don't think it makes much sense myself.
President Biden scared the hell out of me. This is a Techdirt story once again. Look, you see, I subscribe to your RSS feed.
Very good.
How old-fashioned of you, Gramps.
Yeah.
You're the one.
Really? Are there a few people?
No. We actually have a lot of people who read the RSS feed.
I like the RSS feed. And you know what I like about your RSS feed? You do full articles. You don't do those little 2-sentence pieces there.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to read this from my newsreader.
Go for it.
Joe Biden speaking, where was he speaking? Somewhere. He said something. He said out loud the thing everybody's thinking, which is these cyber attacks could lead to a shooting war.
Yeah.
Biden said on Tuesday, cyber threats, including ransomware attacks, are increasingly able to cause damage and disruption in the real world. This is a speech at the Office for the DNI. So he's speaking to the intelligence agencies. If we end up in a war, a real shooting war with a major power, it's going to be as a consequence of a cyber breach. So those of us who have been saying, well, cyber warfare, at least nobody dies, or, it's not quite as bloody, perhaps, as a shooting war. Maybe not. Maybe it could. He did not mention Russia, but he did, immediately then mentioned that Russia was spreading misinformation ahead of the 2022 midterms. It's a pure violation of our sovereignty. Mr. Putin, he said his name, has a real problem. He's sitting on top of an economy that has nuclear weapons and oil wells and nothing else. Nothing else. He knows he's in real trouble, which makes him even more dangerous. Boy, I think that's all very accurate. Yes? Agreed? Disagree?
Sure. It's accurate, but the question is, was that a wise thing to say? There are these concerns, obviously lots of concerns about cyber attacks and other kinds of computer mischief, but saying directly that you may respond to cyber attacks with actual weaponry attacks seems like an escalation, and not necessarily an escalation that we should be making right now.
I agree, but he has been escalating the rhetoric all along, hasn't he? Really calling Putin out, saying you got to do something about ransomware. And, we talked about this yesterday in Security Now, but the ransomware gang that brought down Colonial Pipeline, which then disappeared, we think perhaps because either of the U.S. or Russian military or police agencies going after them, seems to have reemerged. And their code is identical to their original code. And maybe this is one of the things that precipitated that.
But did anyone think that they weren't going to reappear? I mean, yeah, they disappeared, but the people behind it were still out there, and they still want to make money. I think the idea was always that they were just going to reappear with a different name, and so I don't think it's that surprising that they did.
The dark side ransomware gang has reemerged as Black Matter, and it's ransomware by subscription. It's very similar. The code is it is identical, in fact, to the dark side code.
Ransomware by subscription?
Oh, yeah, that's the way it works these days. You have affiliates. So if you're this...
I see. It's ransomware, RWAAS. All right. Okay.
Right, yeah. So you're smart enough to create the ransomware. The best way to make money is not to inflict it on people, but to make it available to script kiddies and others who want to, make a little money on the side.
I was thinking it was the new business model for the Wall Street Journal.
It is a business model for everybody. I'm thinking about it. So
if you don't subscribe, I'm going to kill the internet. Remember that great National Lampoon cover? We should do a new
with a dog.
Yeah. Gun to the head of a server. Buy this newspaper or we'll kill the internet.
Let's do a quick change log and we can wrap things up because we're going a little long here. Play the drums, if you will, Maestro.
The Google change log.
Watch how fast I can do this.
What's crazy is how fast this show has gone.
I know. Goodness. Well, it's fun when we get a great...
Considering Mr. Masnick gives us 2 liners.
We get a great guest. If you're still running Android 2.3.7...
Speaking of Grandpa.
Why? Well, bad news. Starting September 27th, devices running Android 2.3.7 and lower will no longer be able to log into Google services. I think it's about time. Is that Gingerbread? It's a pretty old version of Android.
I think that's like
even older
cake or donut.
Sheesh. Yeah, time to get rid of it. It is a very small number of people, but they're out there, and that's a big problem for Google. So get ready, because say goodbye to your gingerbread. Chrome OS 92 is rolled out. Redesigned emoji, an emoji picker, eSIM support, pre-installed Meet PWA, progressive web apps. Google Meet PWA means you can use Google Meet as a progressive web app, which means, weirdly, you could put it in your menu or your title bar, put an icon on your desktop in it, even though it still has to basically have a browser. It's like a standalone app. Chat will also be a PWA, and both will be pre-installed as a launcher icon on Chrome OS. eSIM is for cellular phones, obviously. There's some other stuff. If you're a Chrome user, you're just going to get it auto-magically. You don't have it, it just happens. Google Chrome will also change how it shows insecure websites. They won't. It'll only, it won't show you whether the site is secure anymore. It'll only show you if it's insecure, because Google's been pushing hard for HTTPS everywhere, and basically this is their way of saying it is everywhere, and in the few cases where it's not, we're going to put a little black mark, a little black lock. It's going to be confusing to people because until now the lock meant it was secure.
Yeah, that's a little
So
odd.
now it's gone, and if you see the lock, it means it's insecure. I am confused. Well, wait a minute. No, it's not HTTP. I don't know.
Which one is it?
I don't know. What is it? Chrome will only display security indicators when the site is not secure, as shown below. So the problem I have with that is I always click on the lock to see the certificate. You click on the lock and you get this information, and you can then look at the certificate and so forth. I guess they'll have to have another way to do that.
They'll figure it out at some point and let us know.
So security
what
indicators
are you saying
are
about
gone.
doing a quick change log?
Oh, what? Yeah, moving along. Moving right along. What, do you got some waffle to get to or something? What's going on?
I don't. I just
catch you a
boring
bit.
me, that's all.
Chrome, some of these I'm seeing for the first time. That's why it's a little slower. Chrome for Android is becoming a two-factor security key for Google account sign-in. And actually, I love this single sign-on thing where it says, are you trying to sign in? And you say yes, and it does that. Used to be you'd have to have an app, the Google app on your phone. Now you can do it if you've got Chrome on your Android device, which is fine because you probably do. So you don't have to install anything additional. It'll just do it with Chrome. This is another new feature in Chrome for Android. YouTube's Premium Lite subscription is now going to give you the chance to have ad-free viewing, but for less. It's being piloted in Europe. That's why the price, as you see it, is 6.99 euros a month. I think it'll be $10 a month in the U.S., which is less than the premium plan. I'm not sure what the U.S. price will be. It's about 60% the price of a premium subscription. But you only get about a quarter of the benefits, says The Verge. This is an experiment only available in the Nordics and Benelux, except for Iceland. Sorry, Iceland. Premium
I'll keep it as is.
We were talking about this last week, right? That the reason we have Google Music or YouTube Music is because we don't want to we don't want to see ads on YouTube, and it just comes along for the ride. Mm-hmm. So maybe this will be the YouTube Music free version of Google Premium. And finally, the August security patch, I should check, is rolling out to Google Pixel. The OTAs are live. That's good. You always want to do that. 3 security fixes and 1 functional update to address accidental assistant triggering. No one wants that. And that's the Google change. I think
even cut short the theme there.
Oh, we're out of here. This is it. We're done. If Mike Masnick can do a short podcast, I can do a short. How long is the Techdirt podcast?
It's usually in the 45-minute range.
Oh, wow. Oh, man. And how often?
Piker. Weekly.
How do you 45 minutes a week? How do you? It's incredible. Current episode came out today. The problem of jawboning. What is jawboning?
So jawboning is kind of what we talked about a little bit earlier about this idea of government officials trying to convince websites to take down content, and where that line is between persuasion and compulsion.
And you have an actual law professor.
Yes.
Genevieve Lacquier from the University of Chicago.
Yep.
Good. Anything you want to plug as we wrap this show up, Mike Masnick, besides that fabulous podcast and, of course, Techdirt.com, and support Techdirt with their insiders shop, and somebody should buy silence Techdirt for $100 million. Besides that, now accepting Bitcoins.
Yeah. I mean, hey, we just having people read what we write is always the most important thing to me. We're working on a whole bunch of cool projects, so stay tuned for that. I know I have plugged in the past on your show the CIA game, which is over my shoulder, the card game that we have. We are working on a new card game, so
nice.
I'll plug that. But that probably will not be out till late fall, maybe early next year.
Can you still buy CIA?
You can, and in fact, you can now buy it on Amazon, which is new. We only got it up on Amazon very recently.
Nice. Is if I search for CIA, probably won't find it. Maybe Techdirt's CIA?
If you say CIA game, it should come up as the top result.
Good, because when I searched for CIA Techdirt, I got a vertical low, top low 3-card badge holder.
I'm not sure what that is.
but a secret spy earpiece. So I'll search for a CIA game instead.
Yes.
There it is. Collect It All is what it stands for, a competitive card game. $29 on Amazon. Thank you, Mike. It's really, we love having you on. Anytime you want to come on and talk for 2.5 hours, you're welcome.
Yeah, but I'm going to try and force you to be quicker.
Oh, no. Let me bottom line that, Mike will say, and then the show will be over. Yikes.
Well, thanks for having me. It's always
a pleasure.
Oh, it's always a pleasure, my friend.
And of course, Stacey will be back next week. Number of the week, Mr. Jeff Jarvis.
Well, just to make us feel old and have you talk about the past, which drives Leo crazy, it's been 40 years since MTV launched.
I know, August 1st, 1981, video killed the radio star. But as some wag joked, it's been 40 years since MTV launched. It's been 15 years since they played music. They really are now a reality show channel.
Yep.
Too bad.
Like everything. Bravo. And
everybody.
HGTV,
they've all done that.
Everybody's.
Even, towards the end of Tech TV, we're running the show Cops. It was like, I guess that's all cable channels eventually become a reality show. Sad.
Yep.
Ant Pruitt, your pick of the week.
Folks that are using iOS for content creation, LumaFusion recently had a big update. They teased it.
I love it.
Teased it last month, but now it's ready to go. So you're creating videos and editing videos, and you get to maximize the power of M1 and do some video stabilization right there inside the app on a iPad. It's pretty dadgum impressive. It's a paid app. I think the app is $30, I believe, but you get all the updates after that. So yeah, it's worth a look. And lastly, make sure you go check out the Wanderers Photo workshop. That's the workshop I'll be teaching at here in October down in New Orleans. So go to wanderersphoto.com and sign up to hang out with myself, Mr. Steve Brazo, Freddie Clark, and Andrew Scrivani. We're going to be doing a hangout here pretty soon, a virtual hangout, where we're just going to sit back and chit-chat and drink some whiskey and talk about photography and some other getting to know you kind of stuff.
Nice. Twit.tv/hop for Mr. Pruitt and the fabulous hands-on photography. I've got 2 picks for you. One from Waze, which is a Google product, and I give credit to Paul Thurrott for coming up with this one. If you go to My Waze, you can now drive with Master Chief. This is a Halo tie-in. So there's a Master Chief voice, or you could be this Scarem. You can also do your car could be a Warthog or the Ghost, and you can have turn-by-turn directions from Master Chief. And I'll give you an idea of how they sound. Let's go home here, and I'll have have this navigate home. Let's see if I got the sound on. Turn up the sound. Come on, Master Chief.
We're ready to roll. Drive safe. Turn left. And then turn right.
Okay.
Oh, my.
Yeah, Master Chief. Yeah.
Nice.
When I first turned it on, he made some comments about my car. And then not kind. And then the second pick, which just came from the chat room, Internet Archive. We love the Internet Archive. This is their 25th anniversary year. And, of course, we'll talk about that later in the year when they actually hit 25. But thank you, Brewster Kale, for creating the Internet Archive.
Yay.
And
nice.
They have remastered the first 4 hours of MTV. So you can watch MTV go live. Is my sound coming through? Here it is, the rocket. You can play this. They can't take us down.
Seconds.
They couldn't take us down for this.
Redundant set sequencer start.
This is the launch
20 seconds
in 1981 of music television, which really I think you could fairly say changed the music industry.
14.
Yes.
Yeah.
13.
Yeah, it did.
Well, it led to YouTube, I would argue.
9.
Yeah.
8.
Maybe
7,
in many ways.
6. 5.
And thus
4.
TikTok.
We've gone for main engine start. We have main engine start.
And of course, the rocket ship and the Moon Man was the motif for MTV and the Video Music Award. Still is, actually. The Moon Man.
Ladies and gentlemen, rock and roll.
And there's the flag on the moon, the MTV flag.
Oh, gosh, I remember that sound in my head. Oh, my.
They had the best station IDs. They put a lot of money and energy into those. And actually, the guy who programmed MTV end up, in later years, not at this time, but in later years, end up programming Tech TV. So there's a little blood shared.
This really scares me. So I see a story here. The original MTV VJs, where are they now? Where does this story appear? Next to Leo's story at AARP.
By the way, Adam Curry's the only one who's still around. Listen, the first song. Now, I will get taken down if I play this. The Buggles are going to come after me.
How much of this inspired Tech TV?
I suspect there was some commonality. I mean, this set actually looks like some of our sets and stuff. Greg Drebin was his name, and
I could have seen someone doing a high concept pitch for, we're going to do MTV for
geeks.
Nerds.
Yeah. Wow, this is fun. I might go home and watch this. There's David Byrne. These are the hits of 1981. The Pretenders. Lots of fun. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this edition of This Week in Google. If you would like to watch us do it live, you can. We produce the show every Wednesday about 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. That is 2100 UTC. So it's easy enough just to go to twit.tv/live. There's live audio and video streams you can watch. It's fun to watch live as it's actually happening. And of course, one of the advantages of watching live is you can listen live. Chat live with us at irc.twit.tv, or if you're a Club Twit member, in the fabulous Twit Discord. After the fact, on-demand versions of the show will be available, audio or video, at twit.tv/twig. And there's a YouTube channel devoted to This Week in Google, or you can subscribe in your favorite podcast client. Nice idea. If you do that, then you'll get it automatically the minute it's available every week. And if your podcast client allows reviews, please leave us a 5-star review. Let the world know you enjoy This Week in Google, and let them discover it too. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Ant. Thank you especially to Mike Masnick, our special guest. Yay. We'll see y'all next week.
Yeah.
On This Week in Google.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Yeah.
Hey, if you like tech news, but you also like hearing about it from the people who are actually writing the stories, well, I've got a show for you. It's called Tech News Weekly, and it's me, Jason Howell, along with my co-host, Micah Sargent. Every week, we invite the people making and breaking the biggest tech news stories from around the web onto this show to talk to us about it. It's a lot of fun. You should check it out. Tech News Weekly can be found at twit.tv/TNW every Thursday. We'll see you there.